over the numbers. Yep, keep it going. There you go. Just, it looks like a blue low wing. Keep it airborne, keep it airborne, keep it airborne. You got a fast guy behind you. Don't descend yet, don't descend yet. Wait until he gets it under control and gets off the runway. My guy landed, make a left turn on the hard surface. Can you do that?
Canard, request a base.
All right, hold on. Watch that guy on the runway. Watch the guy on the runway. Turn left, turn left, turn left to clear the runway. There you go. Charlie Sierra, they made a fantastic call for you here. I'm going to put that Canard, though, probably in front of you once I'm able to find him. Canard, start your base. Yeah, I see you. Canard, man, you are fast. You beat the Gulfstream. What are the odds? All right, Canard, make a left-hand turn. Come, well, you guys do 100 knots when you're sitting on the ground. Just make a left-hand turn and come directly to 9. Runway 9, clear to land. Charlie Sierra, base your discretion. And I think I might have a twin out there, but that's all right. Charlie Sierra, we're not going to send you back around. So Charlie Sierra, go ahead and start the base. And Canard. Let's see. Actually, man, you guys are coming out of nowhere. I see the Canard now. Okay. Charlie Sierra, go ahead and slow it up and square the turn to final here. Everybody join the final here, and Charlie Sierra, I'm going to try to make this work for you. Traffic over Charlie. Put it down there. Put it down. Runway 9, clear to land. And my Cub type, keep it up to the green dot. Green dot's good. Go on. Keep your speed up and turn left onto the hard surface here. Short final. Go down to the white dot now. You got traffic rolling out. Cub, go ahead and land. Cub, go ahead and land. That's fine. And my little guy here on the white dot, keep your speed up, keep your speed up, keep your speed up. Make a left-hand turn on the hard surface. And it looks like my twin's going to have to go around here probably. Yeah, twin go around, twin go around, twin go around. Yeah, there. Sorry about that. That snuck right up on us here. And the other tricycle there, turn left on the hard surface and look for the flagman. Cardinal all the way down to the green dot. Cardinal all the way down to the green dot. I got 2 Canards. You're going to land on the threshold. 2 Canards, both of you. Land on runway 9. And Charlie Sierra, you know what? Oh, man, I hate to do that. All right, Charlie, my 2 Canards offset to the left. I'm going to send you around again. The 2 Canards go around left side. Keep each other in sight, please. Go around left side. Charlie Sierra, you're clear to land runway 9.
Clear to land 9, Charlie Sierra.
Go ahead. You know what? You're going to have to go around too. Cessna over the runway, go around. Cessna over the runway, go around. Cub, I need you off the runway. Cub, I need you off the runway. Get in the grass if you have to. Cub, I need you off the runway. Left in the grass if you have to. There you go. The Canards are going around. All right, Charlie Sierra, here's another part of the show. I guess you're going around as well. All right, Cessna, that's fine. Put it down and make a left-hand turn. You're going to have to go into the grass. Charlie Sierra, continue straight ahead. Canard, you're going too fast to land. That's fine. Just continue straight ahead. All right, Charlie Sierra. Let me see. I got a guy out there heading to your left. I have no idea what that is. I don't think he was one of my go-around. I was the twin Cessna I sent around. I should have known. All right, twin Cessna, go ahead and make the left-hand turn. Re-enter the downwind. I think Fisk is going to help clean us up. Charlie Sierra, you can turn crosswind the crosswind your discretion. Canard, can you follow that twin off your left? Twin on a mile final, you're cleared to land on 9 at the white dot.
For UG, Roger.
There's a performer at prison inbound.
All right, hold at the prison.
Hold the prison.
Yeah, and the Canard, are you going to be able to follow that twin? Do you see him? Okay, that radio's not readable at all, so just follow that guy. Number 2 Canard, follow the other Canard. That'll just work out perfect. If you guys keep each other in sight, that's going to work. I got 2 twins on final. You're both clear to land. And aim for the white dot, please. Keep each other in sight. The T-tail twin on the numbers. T-tail twin on the numbers. And the other guy, you go down to the white dot. And, aim closer to the green dot. It's fine.
Charlie Sierra is turning downwind.
Yeah, Charlie Sierra, continue on the downwind. We'll try to find a hole for you here.
Oh, we have anybody in front of us. It's not going to work.
Welcome to Oshkosh.
Yeah, I know.
All right, twins are looking good. Am I go-around guy? That's great. Turn left and come direct to the white dot. And clear to land, runway 9 on the white dot. That's perfect. Rolling out, make a left turn into the grass. It's past the orange dot. There's flagmen out there. Make a left turn into the grass. Cess on a 1.5 mile final. And let's see. Do you see that traffic heading to your left turn in the base?
Sure.
All right, can you follow me?
We can do right 360.
No. That's the last thing I want you to do. Just come over to the right side a little bit. Just keep him in sight, but stay to the right. Stay to the right. Stay to the right. Just kind of parallel the runway there. And the low wing, I believe you're the guy that went around. Caution for that Cessna. He's actually, looks like he might be in front. Just use caution for the helicopters there. There you go. That's fine. And my twin, yeah, you're clear to land, runway 9. You're going to overtake that guy. My Cessna on final, you're going to have to go around too. Just continue upwind. Cessna on the Cessna, you're going to go around. I got a faster guy below you that's going to land, so don't descend. Just continue straight ahead. Don't turn downwind until, or crosswind until you get up probably toward the shoreline. My twin, again, you're clear to land.
Crosswind for Charlie Sierra.
Charlie Sierra, go ahead and start the base. We're going to try to part the seas for you. That fist didn't cut them off, but there's still a bunch of arrivals coming in here, so we'll see where we can, see what it looks like when you get here.
All right.
Charlie Sierra, there's a Cessna there in about 1.5 mile, 2 mile final. Cessna on about 2 mile finals, just go around. I want you to climb up to 1,800 feet, just fly down the runway. There you go. Traffic is touching down on the runway. We need a left turn on the hard surface just as soon as you can. We do have jet traffic coming inbound. Cessna, once again, that's short final, A firm. Hold that 1,800 feet. Yep, Kennard, that's coming up on short final. I need you to keep it airborne all the way down to the white dot. Left turn that first intersection. I do have jet traffic inbound. And we're not going to send them around again. Traffic coming up on the green dot. Left turn that hard surface. Charlie Sierra, runway 9, clear to land.
Clear to land 9, Charlie Sierra.
I got another Cessna about 1 mile final. I have permitted 1,800 feet, fly upwind. I got jet traffic going to pass below you. He's going to land. You are going to be at 1,800 feet. We'll find a hole for you later. Second Kennard, short final, go around. Kennard, short final, go around. Kennard, short final, go around.
Going around.
Kennard is rolling out, making a left turn at the orange dot. Left turn at the orange dot, the one that's going... There you go. Kennard, take it up to the departure into the runway, then a left crosswind into the downwind.
Yeah, my Cessna that first got sent around, go ahead and make a left-hand turn to the crosswind. You're going to have Kennard traffic faster, but he's going to be behind it to your left. So go ahead and make that left-hand turn to re-enter the downwind. There you go.
All right, Kennard, if you can make that turn to the downwind, do it now. Perfect. Cessna that's making the left turn, A firm. Once you hit the departure and you hit the shoreline, make the left-hand turn. Come back into the pattern. Kennard, we're going to make you number 1 behind the jet. Charlie Sierra, you're clear to land. Thanks for the patience.
Clear to land. Thanks.
Here's our performer still at the prison, 2,500.
Hold at the prison. Cessna, if you have a Cessna and you're on upwind beyond the runway, turn crosswind. There's a Cessna midfield on upwind. I just want you to take it up a little bit. There's another one down the line. Charlie Sierra, left turn the first hard surface. Thanks very much for the help. Kennard, make the turn. Bring it right to the numbers. Runway 9 are clear to land.
So today I'm off to the Lundy Flying with Ed Hicks, Flyers Editor. I'm taking this Cessna 180, which belongs to a very good friend of mine who's generous and trusting and kind enough to lend it to me to go to Lundy, which is just absolutely fantastic. I have to say, Lundy is I've been into Lundy, I think once before, maybe twice, once, can't remember. Anyway, it's kind of a strip, all strips demand respect, but Lundy demands respect plus. So I'm kind of a little bit, I'm not nervous, but I'm a little bit, what should we say, apprehensive. Partly because it's not my aeroplane, clearly, and partly because there's a whole load of other people going, so it's going to be busy out there. The weather looks good, although there might be a few low clouds from time to time, but it's going to be an interesting trip. I'm really looking forward to it. Just hope that everything goes swimmingly. Thank you. Or not so swimmingly. No, everything doesn't go swimmingly. There's about 12 miles over the water. No swimming at all today.
Traffic, November 180, Hotel Kilo, loading up and departing runway 2 right away. London traffic, 180 Hotel Kilo, left base 24, visual motor guide.
Believe it or not, that's where the SD card ran out of capacity. I promise I didn't bounce. I promise I didn't ground loop.
The approach. Well, my attempt at the approach was an entirely different runway to everybody else that was knocked off at about 20 degrees. But fortunately, I managed to work out where the white lines were. The problem was we were in and out of sort of drizzle all the way around.
I mean, we got getting on for 100 booked, which is brilliant news. I'm very, very pleased with it.
November 180 Hotel Kilo departing and clearing to the east. Thank you very much for a fantastic day.
So if you enjoyed that, do me a favour, give me a thumbs up, click subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified if anything else gets released. But more importantly, leave some comments. Tell me what you thought. Tell me the kind of things that you'd like to see. If you'd like to see anything at all. If you don't want to see anything, then say, Seagull, put your camera away, you're rubbish. But if you want to see specific things, let me know. So anyway, give us a thumbs up, hopefully, a subscribe, hit the button, or the bell. Hit the bell, it's not a button at all, it's a bell. And leave some comments. Thanks very much, have a great day. Bye.
Rudder trim, check. Flaps, check. Flight control, check. Air Force, ready for takeoff.
Edge 224. ECU swap. ECUB, distance check. ECU swap, auto. IFR departure clearance obtained. Captain brief, complete. Line of procedure. Approach, stop bars, check clear. Altimeter, check set. Transponder, set. DJ, as required. Lights, as required. Ready for power check.
Flaps, check. Flight control, check. Air Force, ready for takeoff.
Hello, and welcome to Day 4 of Flyer Live. It's great to have you all here. Hello, Ed, Dave, Johnny. How are you?
We're all good.
Great.
I'm
Well.
good.
Excellent. And in the background, you can't hear him or see him, it's the production team, Mark and Siobhan, and I can see Nigel Webb in the green room. So what have we got coming up tonight? Well, we've got some news. We always have some news, but we've got some for you tonight, including an apology from the CAA. Yes, you heard this right, an apology from the CAA. In writing. Amazing, isn't it? We got weather. Simon Keeling's recorded a weather video for us, so we can find out what we're going to do this weekend. Nigel Webb's here, as I said, in the green room. He's going to be talking about IFR, clouds, and that kind of thing, that kind of wet, miserable weather flying. And we got another visit with Mistral, and then we got Fantasy Hangar. A quick word about Fantasy Hangar. Tonight's Fantasy Hangar is about which airplane you would fly for work. What would be your fantasy airplane to fly for work? So if you want to have a think about that and put your idea in the comments, that would be great. I have to say that my colleagues have stretched the interpretation almost to the point of breaking, but you'll see about that later. Clearly, I didn't. I played within the rules, played a straight bat, but what have they done? I don't know. They've taken the mickey. We got Bristol Ground School talking about ground school. So if you're thinking about heading off on a commercial career, that's going to be some really useful stuff for you. Alex Whittingham on top form. A quick chat with Anthony Pettiford about some of the fundamentals of commercial stuff. So that's just a short video, and again with some really useful information there. And lastly, I had the pleasure of interviewing Stevo One Canevo, one of the aviation YouTubers from the US who flies around in a TBM 850. So that's coming up later. Thank you. And now it's time to thank the sponsors, because frankly, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the sponsors, unfortunately. So big thank you to Avionics, Bose, Garmin, Cirrus, Leading Edge Aviation, Mistral, Pulis, Bristol Ground School, Textron Aviation, and for tonight, because this is a kind of pseudo live stream Thursday night, a bumper live stream, if you were, for Flight, the sponsors of our live stream. Thank you. One more thing. If you want to go and visit those sponsors, pop over to their website, and here's a little video to show you how it works. Hello and welcome to this very quick guide on the Flyer Live website. As you can see, if you go to live.flyer.co.uk, you get to the website for the whole week's Flyer Live. It's pretty simple. At the top, watch live. You can pop in here. This is the best place to watch it. You can see the live stream, which is from YouTube, and obviously you can join in, ask a question, and see whatever you need from there. Then there's the schedule. You got one of these for each day with everything that's going on. I'm not entirely sure how long that will survive before things get changed and move around. Then we got the really important page for exhibitors. Thank you very much to all of these people who supported Flyer Live this week. So please feel free to pop in, see these people, get the information you need, ask lots of questions, and find their contact details and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So please take time to go check out the videos. And lastly, catch up. So after each day, we'll be uploading the previous day's content. So if you've got nothing better to do and you miss one day, you can always watch it again. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the week, and goodbye. Hello, so me again, just for a change. 3 things that you need to do that are really worth doing. The first thing, Pulis. Go over to the Pulis page, look at the ad on the right, and enter the competition. You could win a Bose A20, you could win a Garmin D2 Air, or you could win 250 quid to spend in Pulis. So that's a great competition. When you've entered that one, head over to Garmin, or if you do Garmin first if you like. I'm not going to tell anyone. And then go to Garmin, where you could win one of 2 Aera 660s that we're giving away and another D2 Air. So there's a question on the Garmin page and instructions on how to enter. And lastly, for this week only, if you're not a member of the LAA, you can join the LAA for 30 quid, which is less than half price. All you have to do is get in touch with the team at Tur Western, and they'll honour that deal for this week. So 30 quid's got to be a bargain for your first year's LAA membership. That offer's open to new members only. So there you go. I think that's my lot. I think there's the news coming up next. Straight in with you, Ed.
So, first up in the news, there's a new issue of Flyer out. We mentioned this last night, but new issue is out, and don't forget, it's completely free to read. You'll find links to it on flyer.co.uk. And in it, you'll find a brilliant feature about being taught bush flying in Nevada. There's something else about getting a type rating in the Cirrus Aircraft Vision Jet. Plus, there's a fantastic flying adventure, beautifully illustrated and really inspirational. Makes you want to stay at home, stay in the UK and go flying from last night's flying adventurer, Paul Cadell. Plus, there's £57 worth of free landings to use in June if you're a Flyer Club member. So, and if you haven't figured out the brilliance of the Flyer Club, check it out online and join up. It's just £7.50 a quarter.
Well, I've got the good job of announcing some good news for airfields. 3 airfields, in fact. There's Taton Hill. The runway 0422 is being extended to 650 metres. The northern taxiway is being surfaced with tarmac, and therefore that means that you won't have to backtrack to get back to the apron. The next airfield that's got a bit of good news is Guernsey Airport, because the Guernsey Air Rally, a very popular event every year, normally held in the height of summer, had to be cancelled last year, obviously. This year, apparently, it's going to have to be staged on the 10th to the 12th of September. And the club, the Guernsey Aero Club, has been assured the boardings will be open with no need to isolate for 14 days. Obviously, things could change, but you need to, if you want to have a go at that, go along to the Guernsey Aero Club website. The last bit of good news from airfields is Wellesbourne Aerodrome. It's been commemorating the fact that 40 years ago, in March 1981, in fact, Prince Philip flew into the aerodrome when it was reopened as a civil airfield after the RAF left.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great. And next up, just a quick little one. We'll wish René Fournier a belated happy birthday for yesterday. He's the designer and brains behind the Fournier aircraft series, which include motor gliders like the RF4. He turned 100 yesterday, so happy birthday, René.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got 2 little bits of news. First of all, from Sun and Fun, Aerolite 103. I don't know if you know much about the Part 103 aircraft in the US, but Part 103 aircraft in the US are effectively ultralights, and they're just not regulated at all. Not only are they not regulated, but the pilots flying them don't even have to have a license. So you can go and buy one, build it, or buy one already built, jump in, teach yourself to fly, get a book, read it, and go. I think not many people do that because it would be a short-term thing, wouldn't it? But the Aerolite 103 is available over here as an SSDR, and they just announced an electric one, so you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4 batteries. The only slight downside is the electric one comes at something like a $12,000 premium over the cheapest internal combustion engine version. And 4 batteries will get you an hour's flying if you go to economy cruise, but if you're going to circuit bash, it will get you half an hour. But, you know, the 103 looked like a very low-cost, cheap, fun airplane, as long as you don't want to go too far, or if you do, as long as you've got a long time. Last story is over the last, or last story from me at least, over the last couple of weeks, we've been hearing quite a bit from both pilots and AMEs about the Civil Aviation Authority's new online system called Selma, where you kind of have to register and get an account. Sorry, the replies that I can, or the information they gave us that I can read out to you. This is the AMEs and various pilots. It was a total disaster. What a complete and utter mess. We've never seen anything quite so bad. It was just not very good at all. And I sent an email to the CA saying, how's this Selma thing going then? And I got this statement. So I'm going to actually read this because I don't want to put words into the mouth of the CA. I don't think they'd forgive me. So the spokesperson from the Civil Aviation Authority said, listen to this bit. This bit is good. We would like to apologize to all pilots who have experienced problems with either the CA customer service portal or our new online medical record system, Selma. Unfortunately, we have faced some initial teething problems, which has led a number of users to experience difficulties accessing the system through the portal. That would include the AMEs, by the way. These problems have now largely been resolved. Really? They didn't say that. That was my comment. These problems have now largely been resolved, and we continue to work closely with the supplier of the system to rectify any outstanding issues. Where pilots and applicants have completed the process for obtaining a CAA customer service portal account but are unable to access the record systems, we have permitted AMEs to continue to use paper forms to complete medical examinations and issue medical certificates. We are confident that any remaining issues will be resolved very soon, and the system will begin to deliver significant benefits for individual pilots. So there you go. CAA apologising, and the AMEs can carry on paper if they can't make it work through Selma. But give it a go and register through Selma. But I have to say, there was a whole bunch of comments I got from a couple of AMEs and one pilot that were absolutely, I couldn't repeat them, otherwise my colleague would tell me off for saying rude words on the air. So there you go. That, I believe, is the end of the news. And up next is weather and Simon Keeling.
Hi everyone, well I hope you're having a fantastic week with Flyer Live and you're enjoying it as much as I am. Sorry I can't be with you live tonight. I'm out here on the west coast of Wales. Absolutely beautiful day for flying out here. If only I could, eh? We got some stratocumulus cloud just in here. Look, very high base, about 5,000 feet, something of that order. And what a perfect day for flying. Hopefully you've managed to get some in this week. I did. I got flying earlier on in the week. Had an interesting flight. Had a door open on me on takeoff at 200 feet. That was fun, but still, it all goes into building the constitution, doesn't it? Anyway, let's take a look at the forecast for this weekend if you can go flying. This is Saturday. High pressure is in control through the course of Saturday. It's going to be bringing us a fine day. I think plenty of sunshine around, just some high level cloud developing here and there, but really I don't think it's going to be doing too much. Visibility looks to be pretty good all the way. So I think I've got to say, for all areas it's flyable. Just watch for a little bit of cloud perhaps down eastern coasts. Now, as far as Sunday goes, bit of a change. That front out towards the west has come eastwards. Just notice the few spots of rain we're seeing there across parts of Scotland, across parts of northwest England, getting into western parts of Wales and into Ireland as well. I think that brings some lower clouds, sort of 1,500 to 2,500 foot bases, tops at about 10,000 feet. Could be a little bit murky in those areas. So I think just something to be aware of, that we see that deterioration as the weekend goes on across the north and the west. Through central, eastern and southern areas it stays fair again. Through Sunday, bases about 3,000 to 4,000 feet, tops at about 8,000 to 10,000 feet. A tendency towards more cloud, but generally I think it's looking pretty good for those areas on Sunday as well. Monday of next week, not too bad. Tuesday looks a bit dull, perhaps some drizzle around, and then high pressure building back in the middle part of next week. Whatever you're doing, hope that you have a fantastic flying week. Don't forget that if you want to learn more about the weather and being able to plan for your flights up to 5 days in advance, get yourself along to Aviation Weather School. My next course with places available is on the Saturday mornings, the 15th and 22nd of May. It'll be great to see you there. And if you're coming along this weekend, get ready, because we are in for a fantastic course and I will see you there. Have a great week. I'll see you next week, and perhaps I'll see you down at Hackney Green at some times. Who knows? See you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
So, who's flying this weekend then?
I'm spannering. I'm still putting an engine back in the RV3. Well, I put the engine in. It just needs connecting up.
Minor. Johnny?
Yeah, spannering as well this weekend.
Oh. Dave, you plastering or painting or something?
Ian, are you flying?
I am hoping to fly on Sunday. I've got a minor issue with the airplane. Last time I went to start it, I get a little kind of clicky sound, but it does start eventually. So I'm hoping that it will still start, and I can get that fixed, because I have to say it was a little bit kind of, there's nothing really that spoils an airplane that doesn't start reliably, is there? And the idea of ending up somewhere distant when all the hotels are closed or whatever is not really that appealing. So it'll just be a local flight for me on Sunday, but I'd quite like to get back in the air. Yeah, absolutely.
Give it a stern talking to.
I've sent it an email already. Since I've had Garmin Connect in there, I've given it a stern email. So hopefully it should be good. Right.
Right, from weather, it looks like a good weekend, but often it isn't always that way. So we're joined now by Nigel Webb. Nigel, thanks for joining us. How are you?
You're welcome. Good evening. Twice in 2 weeks, this is becoming a habit, isn't it?
It is. So just begin by telling us a bit about your own personal flying background.
So I've been flying for far too long now, probably a little over 30 years. But the thing which I've really enjoyed most, I think, of all of it, is being the sort of long distance IFR flying. So developed a real thing for flying, for example, light aircraft across the Atlantic. I've delivered some for people, and I've flown myself across there on a regular basis. So it's really that kind of slightly more challenging long distance flying which really floats my boat, so to speak.
Brilliant. Can you just first talk us through some of the most common reasons why people might need to undertake further training in order to fly in conditions like that?
Yes, I think you will remember well that when you go through the basic PPL, little more is taught than the ability to do a 180-degree turn in cloud if you encounter it. And clearly that's a great start, but it doesn't really equip you for the kind of weather that we often find ourselves flying around in the UK. So I think for most people, it's the ability, perhaps not to fly in all weathers, but just to be a little bit more reliable. They say they're going to go flying on Saturday. There's a little bit of cloud around, but they don't want to cry off. Particularly people who've got a day job, remember those? And people who want to actually say with some certainty they're going to be able to go, and a little bit of cloud isn't going to put them off. So I think for a lot of people, the real intro is just that desire to be able to fly with a little bit more reliability. They don't want to be able to fly in fog or heavy winds and rain. They just want to know that a little bit of low cloud isn't going to put them off. So I think for that reason, the IMC rating tends to be the kind of the starter drug. And for some, it kind of sucks them into the instrument rating and the whole of the rest of the IFR world. But many people will just stop quite happily with an IMC rating, the IRR as it is called under the EASA regime, and they use it really as just that ability to put a little bit more reliability into their flying plans.
Great. So how does the IRR differ from the full instrument rating?
They are quite different, and I think probably the starting point really is that the purpose of the I'll call it the IMC rating, but we know what we're talking about. The purpose of the IMC rating is not to allow you to blast around in airways, to travel foreign. It's primarily to ensure that you can fly reasonably competently and reasonably safe without being able to see the ground. And perhaps most importantly, that you can fly an instrument approach into UK airports. You're not it's not that you're not allowed, but the recommendation, shall we say, with the IMC rating is that you don't proceed as low as you would with a full instrument rating down to the published minima. But it gets you out of trouble, so to speak, a phrase that the CAA have often used about the rating, because it allows you to operate in the sort of days that we typically experience outside midsummer. I think the two key provisos about the IMC rating that really differentiate it from the IR, the full instrument rating, is firstly, it's only valid in the UK. You can't take those privileges and fly outside the UK. And the second is that you can't fly in Class A airspace, IFR. So there's no entering the London TMA, there's no entering airways. So the kind of routings that you would follow if you were flying a proper instrument rating style flight plan are not available to you. It really is that you can do the classic VFR style cross countries, but you can do them even if the weather's not quite up to VFR standards.
Yeah. And for people who are thinking that kind of sounds like something that might benefit me, are there any pre-entry requirements, and do they differ?
So they're relatively modest. You essentially need to have flown for a relatively small number of hours after your PPL. And in fact, you can count your IMC instruction against a certain number of those hours in any event, so that in reality, with relatively little flying experience post PPL, you can launch into the IMC rating. I think most people would probably suggest that it's good to actually get a little more experience than the minimum under your belt, just so that trimming and the kind of things that tend to get rough around the edges for the typical hobby pilot are sort of nailed, so that entering the IMC rating course, you're at least basically in control of your aircraft and you've got the kind of basics nailed. But beyond that, and apart from having a PPL, you're good to go. Course is 15 hours of training in principle, although like all of these courses, people can spend a little more time doing them depending on quite how much time and dedication you have available. So it's readily attainable, it's not going to break the bank, and it provides that flexibility that perhaps you don't get as a straightforward PPL.
Yeah, great. So when you undertook your training, were there any particular things that surprised you with being difficult?
Yes, I think I didn't realise until I started flying on instruments quite how terrible I was at trimming. Because when you start looking away from the outside and you're starting to look at instrument approach plates and all the rest of it, the aircraft wants to go in its own direction if you can't trim. And I think you discover quite how poor at trimming you are when you're put in that position where you can't actually look outside and see that you're descending or climbing. So it can sometimes feel a little bit like sort of balancing on a beach ball, rubbing your tummy and patting your head at the same time in those initial periods. But I think once you get past that and you kind of get the basic feel of the aircraft, you learn that if you apply the right speed and the right attitude, the aircraft's performance is going to be pretty predictable. It all starts to fall into place. But I think it's that first few hours that can be a bit mind-boggling. And of course, once you've gone through that first stage and you're basically learning to control the aircraft en route in cloud or with foggles on, then you put it all together and start to fly instrument approaches. And I think for me, the idea that I was going to be flying really, really close to the ground, in my mind at least, without the benefit of being able to see almost till I was kind of busting out of the bottom of the cloud, that's a real problem. And I think it kind of scrambles your mind at first to know that you're only maybe 500 feet above the ground, but you can't see it. You kind of start thinking you're about to crash, and I think you get past that quickly. But it's pretty mind-boggling when you've either got screens off or glasses on, you just can't see the ground. And it is amazing how that 500 feet suddenly makes it look as if you think you're going to crash. But nothing quite compares to when you've flown the approach and the instructor finally leans across and tells you to take your glasses off or whatever, and you see this runway out in front of you. And I think that's when it all starts to feel like it's coming together and you're a proper pilot.
Yeah, that must be a good feeling. So John Park asks, can you add an instrument rating to a lapel?
I believe not. I don't believe that you can add the IRR to the lapel either. Actually, I think you do need the full PPL for it, but I will defer to others on that. I believe it to be the case. It's unfortunately one of those restrictions that are there.
Yeah, okay. So any other viewers, if you've got questions, stick them in the comments and we'll pop some up. And Nigel, just tell us some of your experiences flying across the Atlantic and how instrument flying helped.
I mean, even if you're not flying across the Atlantic and you're just going to France for the day, the secret cheat, if you are fully instrument rated, is that actually, unlike those of us flying VFR who have to sort of learn the symbology of the French charts versus the English charts versus the German charts, and we're all used to trying to negotiate with foreign air traffic control who have slightly different terminology that they use. IFR, the system is pretty uniform the whole way along. It really doesn't matter where you're flying. The procedures are absolutely identical, and the verbiage that's spouted at you and the verbiage you're expected to spout back are pretty much the same. So I'll admit, on a bright sunny day with not a cloud in the sky, if I'm flying down to the south of France, I'll go IFR because it's just simple and easy. You're under constant radar control. You get told where to go. The routes these days, particularly with us all carrying IFR-approved GPSs, are pretty direct. You can find yourself in the north of France being told to route direct to Lyon. And it's just too easy. You don't have to constantly hand off from one controller to another, changing squawks as you go and trying to figure out who the best person is to talk to next. So I think the biggest advert, I think, for the instrument rating is just that it makes lazy pilots look really good because you can just take off, fly your route. It's always the same. And it doesn't matter whether you do it at night or in cloud or on a sunny blue day. It's just fantastically straightforward. With the Atlantic, to answer your question, the real challenge with the Atlantic is that fairly early on you encounter Class A airspace above flight level 5.5. And so if you're stuck having to be at flight level 5.4 across all that cold water, it sort of induces, for some reason, more panic than if you're at flight level 110. It shouldn't, because you're not going to glide clear in either case, but there's something better about being that bit higher. One of the things, of course, is constant VHF contact for much of the route. Not all of it, but much of it. The higher you can be, the more likely you are to be able to sustain that VHF contact. The poor VFR guy stuck down at flight level 5.4 has a double whammy of not being under radar and not being able to talk to anybody either for long periods of time. So IFR, once again, is actually easier than VFR under those circumstances. So I think laziness would be my answer. Laziness is the primary advantage of the instrument rating because it allows people like me to get away with being able to plan things days and days in advance and doing exactly what I was going to do, irrespective of what the weather looks like and irrespective of needing to learn all the oddities about dealing with local VFR controllers. You just don't have to.
Yes, great.
It's a very comfortable feeling.
Nick Allen in the comments was asking, how many hours did you have before you started your instrument rating?
I think I was relatively low. I think I will have to go back and check, but I think about 250 hours, something of that sort total time. So probably about 100 something hours P1, maybe a little bit more than that.
Right. And for people who are thinking about taking the step, what kind of advice would you give to them?
I think the great thing is now that you've probably come across this concept of this competence-based instrument rating. And the concept behind the competence-based instrument rating, which didn't exist at the time that I did mine, was that you effectively get credit for previous IFR experience that you have. So get the IMC rating, use it, get really comfortable with it, become a sort of a competent instrument pilot in the relatively limited domain of the IMC rating. Then, rather than having to do the full 50-hour course with all of the theoretical knowledge that goes with it, you can be assessed, do a competence-based instrument rating, and you end up having to do less mandatory training. Clearly, as the title suggests, it's based on the skill set that you've built up and the experience you've got. But it's a really nice sort of stepping stone approach to go from getting comfortable within the IMC rating and then moving on to the full instrument rating. So I think top tip, it's always worth getting the IMC rating first. It's nothing to be sniffed at. It's a really decent rating. And if you get it and use it properly, then when you turn up on your competence-based instrument rating course, you're going to save both time and money and a certain amount of duplication by being able to effectively benefit from the experience that you've picked up along the way.
Brilliant.
I think one comment just on the IMC rating, which is worth a little bit. You often read both schools and the CAA saying this is a get out of jail rating. And when I knew I was going to come on and talk to you, I did just want to raise that. Ian can have a rant about it later. But the whole thing about instrument skills, like almost any skills in flying, is if you don't use them, they go away. And the IMC rating has a 25-month validity period. You can imagine you do your test, you're pretty good, you don't then use it for a year. How good are you going to be at flying an instrument approach at that point? So I think if you really do treat it as a sort of get out of jail free card or something to get you out of trouble in a rainy day, I think it's going to get you into trouble because you're attempting to use skills that you probably haven't used since the test. So I'm a really firm advocate, contrary to what the CAA often say, of get the rating, use it like you mean it. By all means, carry a safety pilot with you if you're not totally comfortable, but keep those skills current. And then when you do rock up on your CBIR course, you'll have not only the badge, but you'll actually have some of the skills that go with it. It's really, really important.
Great. So Henry Yandel says, does the IMC rating contribute to IR hours, or will the same number of hours need to be done regardless?
If you go down the competence-based route, then the hours that you've done with the IMC are up to a maximum limit, but will effectively allow a reduced course. So that the notional instrument rating course is 50 hours of flying. I believe I will need to check, but I think the reduction for the IMC rating goes down to around 40 hours. So you're saving yourself hours. And I think under certain special circumstances, for example, if you've gone to the States and got yourself an FAA IR, then under some certain circumstances, it can be curtailed even further. So getting that prior experience, whether you choose to do it via an IMC rating or an FAA IR, it all counts, and it will all save to, or ultimately contribute to reducing the hours you need to spend on your IR course.
Yeah, great. Have you got any final bits of advice?
No, I think the one I mentioned before is probably the one I would want to leave people with, which is by all means get it, but then don't keep it in your back pocket for a rainy day, figuratively and literally. Use it, because it's not a skill that somehow magically preserves itself. You need to get out there and fly. And I'm a big fan of clearly not taking stupid risks, but getting out there in all weathers and going out there and flying. There's nothing quite like that for you, the aircraft, or for your skills.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Nigel, thanks very much for joining us. It's been really interesting.
You're welcome. Really nice to see you again, Julie.
Thank you.
Wow.
Good stuff.
There you go.
That's
Great
good
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, I think Nigel was absolutely right about the whole finding IFR just takes all of the problems away. I think a couple of years ago, in the days when we used to be able to travel through Europe, we flew down to Friedrichshafen, flew the team down to Friedrichshafen. The first year we went IFR, and that was certainly a lot easier. The second year, I think the year after we went VFR, which it wasn't too complicated to be fair, but IFR certainly makes things a lot easier. So yeah, if you're going, I remember sort of looking. I went to Tunisia many years ago, and the stuff all around the south of France and Tunisia, that airspace just looked really complicated. And in the end, you just go, you know what? I'm just going to fly at IFR, go IFR, and as Nigel says, someone holds your hand all the way. So much easier. And yeah, it's kind of like it's really weird because they make you do all of these, funny tests and exams and et cetera, with exacting tolerances. I'm not quite sure how I passed, but somehow I did. And then once you've done that, it's all really easy. Like IFR flying, it's seriously, most of the time you're not in cloud. Most of the time you're above cloud or sitting in nice blue skies anyway. So yeah, absolutely. Good. So if you were here on Tuesday, you would have heard us talking in the news about the Bonanza 75th edition. And earlier this week, I spoke to Tom Perry, who's the VP of Sales for Textron Aviation. And today I'm joined by Tom Perry, VP of Sales for Textron Aviation in Europe. Tom, how are you doing?
Very well indeed, thank you. Yes, all things considered.
2020 was clearly a challenging year for all of us in aviation. Textron, to a certain extent, seems to have bucked that trend. How was it for Textron last year?
I'm going to say, with a little modesty, remarkably good. It was certainly slightly better than a break-even year, which I think was possibly what we might have expected, given the shock that the world was going through. So the fact that we were able to turn a profit in the year was something that we would regard as a good result for the year. And then, if I can sort of talk about the Gamma results, Gamma reported that Textron Aviation led their annual shipments and billings report. In fact, if you add all the products that we are responsible for, we delivered more than a quarter of all the general aviation that were delivered last year. And in a year sort of unlike any other, we continue to provide and develop and introduce new products and services to our customers. So, in terms of numbers, in 2020, we delivered 132 citations. And on top of that, we delivered 113 turboprops made up of the Caravans and the King Airs. And then I think Chris Crowe has already mentioned the tremendous success that the Piston division enjoyed with over 300 deliveries of Skyhawks, 182s, 206s, and Bonanza and Barons. And of course, the Skyhawk, that 172, continues its position as the world's best-selling single-engine aeroplane. So, I think, again, most of the market is aware of the two brand new clean sheet designs that we have in various stages of development right now. The 3 Sky Courier test articles are in a flight test program. They're well into the certification, and we would expect to have FAA certification and entry into service of the Sky Courier for our first customer, FedEx, later this year. And then we've recently taken delivery of a brand new GE Catalyst engine, which is the power plant for the Denali. And we expect to install that on our Denali prototype, ready for a first flight later this summer. And then on top of those, 2 clean sheet aircraft, we've also been able to introduce 3 product upgrades to existing models. So the success of the King Airs is a story that goes from strength to strength, really. And by installing auto throttles and an enhanced pressurization system, we've been able to upgrade the 350 to a 360 model. Those 2, technical upgrades were added to a comprehensive set of interior upgrades that went into the 350 to make the 360. And then there's a similar modification package that we provided to the 250 and thus created the 260. And then again, in terms of innovation, we were able to announce that my former boss, Rob Scholl, has been promoted to a position of leadership of a new e-aviation division of Textron. And that kind of combines the technical knowledge that Textron Aviation and Bell both have into one unit. That brings you pretty well up to date, I'd say, with what we regard as being a great 2020 and a strong start to 21, I'm going to say.
Certainly sounds like a very wide-ranging and successful aviation undertaking. So just let me, I'm very much at the Cessna 182 level of life. But just in case, who knows, what's it going to cost me to get into, I realise this is a difficult question, to get into the entry-level jet world?
So $5 million would get you into an M2, a twin-engined M2. And that would be perfect for your needs, I'd say, Ian. You'd want a twin-engine rating. I'm not sure if you're IFR rated. I suspect you are if you're flying the Skylane. And a little bit of jet time will actually put you in the left-hand seat of an M2. It's a single-pilot aircraft, so you can fly that on your own or with perhaps someone in the right-hand seat just watching over you for the first few hours. But that's where I'd like to see you in the next few years, and I'm sure you would as well.
That would be jolly nice. If something happens, I'll give you a call and we'll see what we can do.
I look forward to that.
Thank you very much for your time,
pleasure, Ian.
and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, if you've been watching the earlier Fly Live shows, you will have seen Mike Tetlow, the UK representative for U Avionics, talking about their AV30 and a bit about their Tail Beacon X. I had a chat to Mike about what U Avionics' plans are for their products in the UK this year. And joining us from U Avionics is UK representative Mike Tetlow. Mike, what's new for U Avionics in 2021?
Well, we've got a number of products that we're bringing to market this year. The first is probably the AV30 multifunction display, and that's a sort of new line for us in moving into aircraft displays away from our more traditional control systems and electronic conspicuity. But in that vein, we're also working on a link between the Sky Echo that many people will know and the AV30 so that you can get traffic on your AV30. We have a transponder, a fully TSO'd 200-watt transponder that we will be bringing to market for light aircraft, and its sister product is also available for UAVs, and we've just received an FAA TSO for that. So it's quite a busy and exciting year for us.
So you mentioned AV30. Are you looking for specific approvals for that in the UK and with the EASA?
Yes, we have already applied for an EASA ETSO for the AV30. That's in process. We applied before Christmas, and we had originally hoped that that would just grandfather itself into the UK now that we've separated from EASA. But we've just recently been told by the CAA that we have to make a separate application for that now. So we are in the process of doing that. So I think we'll first see an EASA ETSO for the AV30, and then that will be followed, hopefully not too long, by a UK CAA equivalent ETSO.
And obviously you've got you've mentioned Tail Beacon X. That's a really exciting piece of kit, I think, in terms of adding a transponder to a whole bunch of aircraft really simply. I presume there's a bunch of approval that you're going through for that as well at the moment.
Yeah, that's correct. We're working with EASA on that. We have applied for an ETSO. In the States, it already has an FAA TSO. We had hoped that that would be sufficient to read across straight into permit aircraft for an approval. But sadly, it seems that there are some issues we need to overcome on that with the LAA first. So it's quite likely that we'll first see an ETSO for certified aircraft for that product before we see it being usable in permit aircraft.
Okay. And as well as the AV30 and the tail beacon, UAvionics also has a smaller 2¼ inch instrument.
We do. So there's a product called AV20, which is, again, a multifunction display. It's in this little demo unit behind me there. You can see the larger, at the top, you can see the larger AV30 3-inch instrument, and you can see next to it the AV20 2-inch instrument. Has a number of functions, gives a wealth of information, probably very usefully is to a lot of people is the AOA computation that it has. So the AV30 has that too, but just in a smaller form factor at a lower price, you can get AOA displayed in front of you. And as most people will know, that is a very good safety awareness piece of information to avoid stalls or loss of control.
And that's in both the AV30 and the AV20, AOA is probeless, isn't it? So you don't have to fit any other bits of kit on your aircraft.
That's correct. It's a very simple installation. You only really need to connect the aircraft to power and the pitot-static system of your aircraft. There's no need for complicated AOA probes somewhere out on the wing. That's not necessary.
Okay. And AV20 can also control tail beacon X?
Yeah, they can both control the tail beacon X. So we will, when we can bring it to market in the UK, we will be doing packages which would be a tail beacon X transponder with an AV20 or with an AV30. Both of them have a function page to control your transponder.
Fantastic. Well, really exciting times then for UAvionics in the UK. So you guys will be at the LA rally, I'm guessing, this year?
We will, yeah. And all of this kit is installed in my RV8, so I shall be having it parked somewhere near our stand. And if people want to go and see it, they'd be welcome to go and have a look at it installed.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mike. And obviously, people can check out the UAvionics stand on the Fly Alive website. So thanks for coming along.
My pleasure.
Wow. So there you go. Some more good stuff from UAvionics, but more importantly, a quote from Textron. We just need to find 5 million, was it pounds or dollars? I can't remember. 5 million, let's call it pounds, 5 million pounds, and we can have a company M2.
Do it.
I have to say,
about 5.5 million short, aren't we?
I was going to say, I should say, don't hold your breath, because I don't think it's going to come up too soon. Paul Fraser Benison looks like he's been through the classifieds, and he's found a pre-loved citation for only 750k, which is equally unlikely, sadly.
Yeah, Paul, can you start crowdfunding that for Ian, please?
Yeah,
So, Ian, sorry, Ed, I've got a question from something that was said in that UAvionics film. Why would the LAA be holding up approval of the tail beacon X?
I'm not sure that they're holding up approval, but at the moment the LAA seem to want a higher level of approval than EASA or the FAA, which is a bit of an oddball situation at the moment, because the tail beacon X uses some technologies that are approved by the FAA, approved by EASA, but they don't carry the specific approval that the LAA has focused on. So at the moment, the LAA is a bit quizzical about tail beacon X, which is a shame because it's a great piece of kit, and its lightweight nature makes it a perfect fit for a whole bunch of LAA airplanes. So I know UAvionics is kind of working on that to try and find the right path for approval. But I think they LAA and UAvionics need to work together on that. So let's hope.
I suspect the LAA have a kind of tick box list that they may have agreed with the CAA in the past. So if it meets this, tick. If it meets that, tick. Since that date, the CAA, the FAA, and EASA have approved stuff not via that label, and therefore there's kind of a little bit of a stumbling block in there somewhere, I would imagine.
Yeah, but you avionics know their stuff, and they're smart at making kit. So hopefully everyone gets on the same page.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm pleased to say that Paul Fraser-Benison accepted the challenge to crowdfund the Flyer citation. But I'm not sure if it's the 750K one or the M2, but we'll probably take either.
This will be exciting. We'll see where we get to on the fundraising, and I reckon that in a few months' time we'll be buying you a VP1.
I reckon in a few months' time we'll be buying a little die-cast model of an M2 or something. Maybe Textron, if you're listening, you could send. Okay, I don't expect you to send us an M2, but you could send us a little model or something, couldn't you? We could have that on the shelf. That would be. Yeah, go on, send us a model. Go on, do us a favour. We'll give you product placement, as it were.
I have a recollection that even the lovely models that Textron make, one fell over at an Aero Expo a few years ago, and the rumor was that the model was £15,000.
What?
Yeah.
What? I don't want like a full size one. Just maybe a little Model 182 then. How about that? I don't know. Anyway, so this week is Learn to Fly week, and we've spoken about rotary stuff. We've spoken about gyroplanes, which is rotary, I guess. We've spoken about gliding with the BGA. We've spoken about a whole load of fixed wing stuff. But clearly, there's still a whole load of people who want to fly commercially, and it's a huge subject with lots and lots of questions. And earlier today, I spoke to Anthony Pettiford. Anthony is an ex-airline pilot and has basically led some of the UK's major ATOs over the years. He doesn't have any skin in the game at the moment, so he's not selling ab initio courses to people who are starting from, who are wanting to learn to fly for a career at the moment. And so this information from Anthony is really good and without any commercial bias. So, Anthony. Hello, Anthony. How are you doing? Great to be speaking to you today.
Yeah, great to see you again, Ian. Always a joy to talk to you about aviation and all things connected to that.
So I've got some questions for you for people who are just thinking about embarking on a commercial training career. And the first question is, when should I start my training?
Well, over the years, there's never ever been a perfect time to ever start training. So start training when you feel that you're ready to go and you feel that you've thought it all through and that this feels like the right time for you. As I say, trying to predict the future is always a challenge. So just go for it when you're ready.
I guess on a linked question to that, and a question that is probably the most asked question that I can remember is, will I get a job?
You will get a job eventually, of course, if you invest in the qualifications towards the profession of airline pilot. The question that really is associated with that is, how long am I likely to have to wait after I've trained to be able to get a job? And I always reply to people, calibrate your mind for about 6 months after training. And in the really good times, you'll get the job within a couple of weeks. And in the more challenging times, it may take longer. Sit in that medium position and you'll get it about right.
Okay, and next question is, should I choose integrated or modular, and does it make a difference?
First of all, what you must do is understand fundamentally what those various pathways are all about. So you must research the regulations. The regulations can be complex, but you need to unravel them and you need to really get your head around the methods of training. Once you fully understand those methods of training and do so independently, don't just only take it from talking to schools, but go into the regulations yourself. Think about what suits your own personal lifestyle. And once you've ascertained that, then you can start making some realistic research into which integrated school, which modular school to go for.
How do people go about choosing the right school?
In terms of information about the various types of training organizations that are around, there's plenty of information available online. There's a new search network, for example. So Pilot Network will give you a list of all the ATOs out there. You can go to the regulator. You can look up all the ATOs listed with the regulator. But really, really important, of course, is to then start fine-tuning those schools down through starting to do some independent research.
Is it possible to borrow money to pay for training?
Yes, it is possible to borrow money. I mean, there's a number of ways in which funding can occur. So, for example, if you go on a program that incorporates a degree, you can access the government funding through student loans. Or alternatively, you can gain a commercial lending arrangement. At the moment, most of them are secured arrangements. And so they will look at two factors. One, they will look at security, and then secondly, they'll look at affordability to repay the loan once it comes back to the repayment. So yes, it is possible to access funding for that. And some ATOs have some bespoke schemes which they have available to enable you to attend their specific courses.
So Anthony, you've probably seen thousands of students over the years. Tell me, what are the things that they really should have known before they started that perhaps they learnt the hard way through their training?
Again, there's an old English expression which says, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And one thing you must not do as part of this process is just take on face value what somebody may say to you. The depth of your research and the importance of going out and identifying which pathway, which ATOs you want to consider, and all the characteristics that are important to you are absolutely key at this point. Don't just fall into the trap of going somewhere because someone says you should. You must feel comfortable where you're going. Once you've done that, then you start talking with an ATO about a particular course for you. Make sure you fully understand what they're offering to you, how they support you during training, how they support you after training. Funding profiles, try and avoid, if you can, paying cash up front. Look at that as a means to be able to protect your position, both in terms of flexibility of timing and flexibility in terms of cash. But ultimately, you must not just fall into the trap of thinking that the ATO is going to provide you ultimately with this employment. You must be prepared to set your mind in a calibrated fashion, as I said earlier, and think about that you must do your bit as well towards securing employment. There's nothing handed on a plate at the moment anymore.
Thank you very much for those tips. It's been great speaking to you.
It's great to talk to you, Ian, as well. You're welcome.
So, Dave, I'm kind of guessing you're not considering a commercial career.
What makes you say that? Of course I am. No, he knows his stuff, doesn't he, Anthony? And he talks about it so well. You just think if you had a problem and went to him, he'd be able to explain it to you at least.
Absolutely.
The point he was making at the end, that it's down to the student, really, just as if you're the pilot. You're pilot in command, you're student in command of your career, and you really have to think it through and take the right decisions.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, as you know, we've been running pilot career shows for probably the best part of 20 years, and it's always, there's a very similar feeling to them. You have a whole load of people coming through the doors who are hungry for information. It's a hugely complex area. And it's very, at the beginning, you don't really know what you don't know, to have a bit of a cliche, unfortunately, but just you need to research and research and research. And there are, beware of simple answers, because there are no simple answers. There's no one answer that is right for every single person. And so you really do have to ask questions. We advise people to ask lots of questions, go away, think about it, ask a few more questions, do lots of research, visit places, and actually really, have a think about it, have a plan, write yourself a little, instead of a business plan, write yourself a training plan, write yourself a budget, get yourself a plan B, because as Anthony said in there, if when you finish your training, it could well be 6 months, or these days even longer before you get a job, or it could be shorter. You just don't know. And there's no point in finishing your training and expecting to get a job in a week, or you can't pay the mortgage, because at that point, your whole life is hell. So you really do need a plan B. Johnny, you've kind of expressed an interest in becoming an instructor at some stage, haven't you?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm self-studying the CPL exams with Caledonian. I've got their book, their paperwork and PDFs and that kind of thing, so I can flip between flicking through a folder and doing it on my iPad. It takes a lot of discipline doing it that way. It's not an easy thing to do, but yeah, my goal at the moment is I'm waiting to hear back from the CAA as to whether I can get a restricted class 1 because of colour vision deficiency. If that's the case, then that could allow me to get a UK CPL, which would allow me to do a few paid things until EASA recognise UK licenses. Effectively, I could get an instructor's rating, get a CPL, and teach UK CPL until such point as EASA recognise UK licenses, which would open up the door to more opportunities. But yeah, it's everyone is different. That's what I've found. You rarely find someone who's in exactly the same position as you. because having a colour vision deficiency is put hurdles up in front of me, which are very similar to other people's hurdles. But when you can pass certain tests but not others, and you can, you might be able to pass the new CAA CAD colour vision test, but somebody else can't. Everybody's in it for themselves. You can all share advice and share best practices and knowledge, but at the end of the day, you've just got to kind of plough your own furrow, really. And this came from me emailing the CAA back in probably mid-2020. I heard nothing. Just basically saying to them, I'd like to be able to get a CPL, but I can't do the night rating side of it. Practically, there are jobs that exist that don't require the aircraft flying at night, for example, flying vintage aircraft on a commercial basis. So why should I have to get a night rating in order to never be able to even use it? And very pragmatically, it took 7 or 8 months for them to get back to me, but they did finally come back and say, yeah, we've reviewed this, and yeah, we'll accept that if you can meet the conditions for a Class 1 medical on all the other grounds, then go for it.
Ah, interesting. Would it be cruel to ask if those hurdles are blue or green?
Red or green.
Yeah.
I think you've said it as well, Ian. It's that flying for a career is something of a long-term plan, isn't it? It's not something that you go into short-term wise.
No, I think if anyone's sitting out there now thinking, I wouldn't mind being a pilot because you don't have to do much, you fly, it's lovely, and you make loads of money, then frankly, that's not the job for you. It's someone described it as very roller coastery, and at the moment, clearly, we're in a bit of a dip. And if someone begins their commercial career now and they've got, let's say, 30, 40 years of commercial flying in front of them, then they will encounter 2, 3, 4 dips between now and then. It is not all, there are a few people whose career has been plain sailing, but the majority of people, their career is up and down as fleets grow and shrink and routes open up and things change. So, flying for a career is something that you do because you're passionate about it and you're driven to do it, because it is not easy. It is, you pass and then there you go, you got your job, but you've got sim checks, you've got medical checks. You could, that's why they have loss of license issue, loss of license insurance, because it's not difficult to lose your license. So there's, you really need to be passionate and determined about it. It's not for the faint-hearted. Yeah, I quite fancy this. It seems like a good laugh. I'd like to go down route and sit on a beach, because there's an awful lot of people who spend lots of time walking around in the rain at 3 a.m. in Luton doing a pre-flight, and that's not quite the same as sitting on a beach, I'm told. I wouldn't get up at 3 a.m. personally, but there you go.
I wonder where you were going with that.
Anyway, let's have a look at that quick question. I'd like to instruct part-time at some future point. I guess I need a CPL theoretical FI rating, presumably. So that's a question from Darren Lewington. Hello, Darren. Well, if you want to teach PPL, if you want to teach LAPL, you don't need the CPL theory. So you could teach LAPL with just an FI course. Or obviously you could do the CRI, but that doesn't get you ab initio training. But if you want to teach PPL training, then you need the CPL theory. And I have to say, I quite fancy it as well, but I'm just not entirely sure that I've got the time or the persistence to sit and do the CPL exams, or the ATPL exams, really. But there you go. So anyway, dragging ourselves away from the commercial world and heading back to the world of general aviation, as it were. I spoke to Stephen Bailey from Mistral to give us the secrets of the Robin aircraft. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining us again. How are you doing?
Oh, Ian, I'm good, thanks. And you?
Yeah, not bad at all, thank you. So we spoke before about the history of Mistral, the history of Robin, about the aircraft and how it had been going since, I think, 1957, if I remember correctly. Can you tell us a little bit more about the specifics? Why has it been such an enduring success? What is it that makes the Robin as efficient as it is, in fact?
Well, it's remained a success because of its security, its versatility, and its excellent value. It's the best value certified 4-seat aircraft made. And one special characteristic is its wing, which is a very particular shape and very distinctive. And that wing combines two elements, an inner section and an outer section with positive dihedral and a high degree of washout. So in cruise, it's the inner section that's doing all the lifting. So that gives a high wing loading for a comfortable ride. The outer section with dihedral comes into its own at high angles of attack. So it gives stability in turns. It guarantees the inner section of the wing will stall first. That's a safety factor, of course. And it gives much better low speed stability. It makes a very easy handling aircraft taking off and landing. So, and that translates into a nice slow stall speed of 49 knots fully loaded. That means a short landing roll, 175 meters, fully loaded on tarmac, takeoff roll 215 meters, fully loaded on tarmac, and you're across 15 meters and 400 meters. So you've got a combination there of an aircraft that will handle quite short grass strips very comfortably, but at the same time has the comfort and the legs really to handle long distance travel. And Jenny and I have frequently flown down to Mallorca and Corsica and Sardinia in a very, very comfortable day's travel with no early starts. And one of the other things that makes it very comfortable is, of course, the airframe, which is made of nature's composite and is very good at absorbing vibration. So there's a little bit of flex in it, which is good. It's quiet, and combined with the water-cooled diesel engine, it's very, very smooth.
So talking of nature's composite wood, a couple of quick questions on the Rockman. First of all, the engine, the diesel engine, I believe that is a TBR, so time between replacement rather than time between overhaul. And what's the lowdown on this? You have to keep a rob out in a hangar thing.
Well, the latter is a myth. I've never seen a tree in a hangar. And if you think about the old London Bridge, which was made of wood, it stood for over 400 years with its timbers immersed in the Thames. So you're not going to have a problem with a robo. Like any other aircraft, you just need to fly it regularly. As far as the TBR on the diesel engine goes, yeah, it is TBR, just like the Diamond's Ostro engine, just like all the Rotax engines. Although the Continental Diesel's TBR is 2,100 hours, which I think is greater than the others, or 12 years, of course, whichever is the sooner, which is the same as the others. But the thing is this, that yes, you can have a petrol engine zero-timed, you can have it overhauled, and what you'll get back is an engine that's got a mixture of old parts and new parts and a variable bill. And the size of the bill is going to depend on who did the work and how much was replaced. Whereas with Continental Diesel, you get a brand new engine with a brand new warranty, which is a security thing. It's very nice to have that security. And there's no downtime. So if you have your engine zero-timed, you could be waiting weeks or possibly even months for it to come back. Whereas with Continental Diesel, your new engine is ordered in, it's swapped over in a day, and then you're flying again.
Excellent. So, I mean, I guess if we've got an efficient aircraft because of the wing, and we've got an efficient engine because the diesel's certainly more frugal than an avgas burning engine, what kind of running costs can you expect? What do you allow to the direct operating costs, if you like?
Okay, well, the maintenance costs for the CDI are very low. We have these aircraft on a 100-hour maintenance schedule, which is the CAA approved schedule, and is based, of course, on the manufacturer's schedule. And that's 12 months or 100 hours, whichever is the earlier, and it's the only scheduled maintenance. So all the annual items are done at the same time, and the cost of that, or the average cost for us over the last 12 years, has been £2,200, I think, plus VAT. So no 50-hour checks, which of course come around very quickly in the summer. As far as the hourly cost goes, just taking fuel and maintenance, including engine replacement or overhaul, and assuming you get the maximum hours out of the engine, then for a 180 petrol engine version, you're looking at around £100 an hour. For the diesel, about £75 an hour. And if you can reclaim the VAT, and if you don't pay fuel duty for business use or commercial use and trading and so on, then it's down to near £50 an hour.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's fascinating. I have to say, of all of the diesel engine conversions I've flown, the DR400 is probably my favourite, and I think that comes from the fact that the original airframe flew with less horsepower than the 155 CDI. So it's a really nice match. I think they go very well together. How do people get in touch with you? Should they want to experience the DR400 for themselves?
Either call or text on 07973 691 727, or just email us via the contact form on the website.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you have a great summer, and I look forward to seeing you at an airfield in France sometime soon.
Thanks very much, Ian.
Thank you. So let's deal with the old hangarage thing, shall we? Ed, is your fleet hangared?
Well, technically, my fleet is metal, so it could sit outside. But I think if you bought or built or whatever, if you've got an aeroplane you love, you stick it in a hangar, don't you? So,
Johnny, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. Ours is metal, could go outside with covers, but it's in a hangar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave?
Well, when I had the Luscombe, that was metal, and I could have left it outside, but no, I paid a fortune to keep it into Weston's hangars.
Did you have a Luscombe?
Yes, I had a Luscombe. Wish I'd never sold it either.
The 182's in a hangar, and I don't think I'm going to reserve space in a hangar yet for the M2. I haven't bought.
That would be a tough operation out of Lideway, won't it?
It would be a tough operation. Yeah, I'm not sure you could probably get it in the winter, but only because the wheels would sink quickly.
You've got the wrong jet. You've got the wrong jet. You should have the Pilatus PC-24.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably more expensive though, isn't it?
It is. But we've started. Paul Fraser-Billison started that crowdfunding. I reckon we'll just give it a week more.
Yeah. But on a serious note, I think it's okay. There are hangars and there are hangars as well. I mean, there's the hangars that aren't very good. They aren't very well ventilated, that are pouring with condensation as well. So there's a whole thing. We should probably run a specific stream one day or create a video, at least on getting good hangars, getting insulated hangars, doing what you can to stop the condensation. I remember years ago when I was initially based at Kemble on the other side to where everything is now, there was a hangar there, and that place if it was really, really cold and then some sort of humid airflow came in, it was just dripping inside. And because it was a maintenance hangar, there were years of sort of hydraulic fluid and oil having seeped into the floor. You try and walk on it, there's no way. So there was no way I could pull the 182 on level ground after condensation because you just couldn't get the grip on the floor. And fortunately, there were no CCTV cameras because there were quite a few comedy instances of me ending up on my backside. Not very impressed by it. But anyway, there you go. What's next then?
Anthony Kennedy says there's a question popped up quickly on the screen. It says hangarage biggest cost of operating a permit aircraft. I think it's all around the UK. Hangarage is short supply, isn't it? And it is expensive. But if you've got an aeroplane you love, you probably want to keep it undercover.
Fantasy hangar. Before we go on to fantasy hangar, we should. I already know the fantasy hangar, and Ed and I have been there. It's the hangar in Jacksonville Executive Airport that houses the Marco collection of aeroplanes.
Yes,
which is David Marco is someone who likes things to be extremely well done and very, very clean and very, very perfect. And this hangar is just amazing. It's got a suite of offices next to its hangar, and you sort of walk in there and sit down. If you go to the loo, even the taps or whatever they call them in America, the faucets or something, are kind of stylized with Art Deco shaped taps with aeroplanes on, and the whole place is just glistening. The floor's glistening. It's a beautiful, beautiful hangar. I could live in that hangar.
Mirror finish floor, lovely aeroplanes. We've seen a few lovely hangars, a few fancy hangars over time, haven't we?
We have. And the bit I like about the one that the Marco hangar seems to have this magic thing, because you come back from a flight, and I've only ever flown radio airplanes out of the Marco hangars, and there's always a little bit of oil and stuff like that. You come back from a height, and magically someone appears who you haven't met, gets all the cleaning stuff out and starts polishing it and cleaning it before it goes away.
And puts it away.
Yeah, it's amazing. Fantastic, isn't it? So, talking of fantasy hangar, guess we better make a visit.
Yes. So we've been talking about talking about flying for a career tonight. So earlier we thought, I know, why don't we pick the aeroplane that's used for what we think is the coolest flying job, where you get paid to fly for a living. So and I know Ian probably went a bit completely normal thinking on this, while Johnny, Dave, and I all went completely bonkers. So.
Yeah. Talking of bonkers, Ed, I think you're first to be bonkers.
I am first, but I think I've got a completely legit job.
Viewers, help me out here.
I figured, what's more awesome than teaching people how to fly the P-51 Mustang? So if you're one of the pilots at Stallion 51 in Florida, that's got to be pretty high up there. So it's a beautiful it's a nice part of the world. It's warm, great weather. It's America, so the airspace is fantastic, and the attitude to flying is just awesome. Plus, you're flying some of the world's best maintained P-51s. You're teaching people who are super enthusiastic about the aeroplane. It's definitely not your average flying career, but I reckon it's one of the best aircraft you could fly for work. And I might win, though I've seen Johnny and Dave's choice, and I think they could be good choices too. Whereas Ian's is just a bit bus driver.
if we were all in the same competition, it would be decent, but we're not, are we? I mean, how many people do you think Stallion 51 has employed as P-51 instructors?
It's probably a small pool, I'll say that. But then equally, the job you're going to come up with, I know, that's not a wide employment pool either.
I'll give you that. That's true.
Yeah.
But it is yeah, okay, fair enough. I think it's me next, actually.
It is you next.
So here you go. I've never flown one of these, and I've always wanted to. Oh, look at that.
Perfect.
Look at that comment. Get in there. Get in there. So this isn't actually a BAS airplane. It's a Ken Borick airplane, but my absolute dream would be to fly a Twin Otter on skis in Antarctica. I absolutely am desperate to get myself to Antarctica, but that's a little bit difficult. I think the Twin Otter is a legendary aircraft, and flying a Twin Otter on skis would just be absolutely amazing. In fact, production team, can you fire that picture up again for me, please?
I'm convinced that
look at that. It's amazing.
Yeah. I think you may have emailed Henry Yarndell and got him to plant that comment saying, I'd love to fly for the British Antarctic Survey.
Not at all. But seriously, if someone came along to me today and said, Ian, would you like to be a pilot for the British Antarctic Survey flying Twin Otters on skis? I would say, yes, please, pass me those CPL exams. Yes, please, would my American CPL license do? No one would take it. In fact, can't you re-register the airplanes? Oh, I know, throttles in the sea. Yeah. Just imagine, I flew the Catalina once. That's got throttles in. That's quite a cool thing, you know, that whole and the widgeon and stuff. But that Twin Otter in Antarctica has got to be the pinnacle of a flying career, I reckon.
No,
too cold for me.
No.
What? Well, it's too cold for me, but you wrap up warm, don't you?
Yes. Well, no, I think the pinnacle of a flying career has to be working for the Shuttleworth collection. And so my airplane choice is a Sopwith Camel. I just love the aeroplane, love the look of the aeroplane. But I'd love to work for Shuttleworth. I simply cannot imagine a better job than being able to knock around Old Warden Airfield, which in itself is very nice, with its workshops. It's got some old motorcycles there as well, the cafe, the old aeroplanes. I mean, in fact, I could go and live there. I could quite happily just stay there all the time.
We've just moved out.
So clearly, I've won.
It's a good choice. They've just got a new chief pilot as well, haven't they? I think
a year ago, yes. But yes, he took over from Dodge Bailey, who's the legend of Dodge Bailey.
Yeah.
And yes, so yeah, they've got a new chief pilot. I'm sure he will be interested in my career, and take me on, or at least for a while.
Ian will propose you. I'll second you. So there we go.
I was going to say. I mean, does anyone know? I don't know why. It never occurred to me that the pilots at Old Warden were actually paid for it as a career. I imagine they're all volunteers, aren't they?
Well, you could be right. In fact, they may even have to pay for it. But
so Ian beats Ed and Dave. Get in there, Adrian. Thank you very much. So yeah, I think What old aeroplane was that?
Sopwith Camel. Okay, so Dave's not earning a career. Dave's doing voluntary work. Well, that leaves Johnny. Johnny, but I think you might trump us all.
Yeah, so I've gone jet. I've picked the Hawker Hunter. Look at that.
But where do you fly a Hawker Hunter for career?
Well, that particular airplane is based at Scampton with Hawker Hunter Aviation. They do what do you call it? Red Air, threat simulation, mission support. So you can fly those commercially on a commercial basis, and also a company called ATAC in the US. They've got a base in San Diego, and there's currently 3 or 4 deployed in Hawaii, flying around and causing all sorts of havoc. But the Hunter looks like a great machine to fly. And I actually met Apollo 15's Al Warden in about 2 or 3 years ago. And the Hunter was his favourite aircraft to fly.
Ah, very cool. I think if someone put me in a Hunter, I'd be a threat.
I can't help thinking that you three didn't take this very seriously.
I think we did. I think Mr. Bus Driver in the back there is just going, oh, I wish I'd picked something cooler.
No, there is. Well, for a start, there's nothing cooler than the Twin Otter.
Nothing cooler than a Twin Otter in the Arctic.
A Twin Otter in Antarctica, that is uber cool. That is sub-zero cool. That is literally sub-zero cool.
What have we got in the comments?
Ian wins, basically.
No, well, I think you've just focused on one comment there.
I think Paul Kiddell's comment, Ian, do Antarctica in the summer. Not that it's very warm.
Maldives in the Twin Otter on floats in the summer. That's
yeah, I can see that. Yeah, the Maldives on a Twin Otter.
Yeah. Antarctica is a magical, mystical place, and if anyone's looking, I mean, not that you should be looking for non-aviation literature, but if you are looking for non-aviation literature, then some of the books of the Worst Journey in the World, written by a guy called Cherry Aspie-Garrard, I think, absolutely fantastic travel book about. He was on the Scott expedition just as basically a wealthy grunt helping out, but fantastic book. Absolutely. And the other book that I meant to mention that no one replied to in the comments, I don't know who else has read this, when we were talking Rotary a couple of days ago. It takes me a while to process these things. Who's read Chicken Hawk here?
Yes.
Read Chicken Hawk? Have you? Not you. Johnny, you haven't flown a Cub, which you're blessed, you can't count your blessings there. But you haven't read, you need to read Chicken Hawk. And anyone else out there who's looking for a Vietnam helicopter book, Chicken Hawk's a great, great book. Have a good read of it. Anyway, so there you go. So I think everyone, Ian takes this one. Free smiling. Thank you, Mike. Twin Otter and Antarctica.
I've got to say, the comments, I'm beginning to think you might be in charge of all the people. These might all be pseudonyms for Ian in the comments. But anyway.
Look, no hands typing. No, seriously. I mean, can you
I think we may have to call it in your favour.
Thank you. Someone said that Twin Otter was like a BN2 on steroids, which, I can kind of see that. But a BN2, I mean, those noisy old Lycombe, no, a Twin Otter is the way to go, isn't it? I'm flying either.
Twin Otter's class, isn't it?
Twin Otter's class. We should be looking in the next year for a flight test on a Twin Otter. That's what we need in the magazine.
Hang on, I've got my pad and my pen. I've made a note. I'm on it.
We just need to find one. If you've got a Twin Otter and you'd like to see it featured in the magazine, then get in touch. You can even have some of the pictures. Thank you very much. What's coming up next then after the Twin Otter? It's me introducing the next thing.
Go.
It's an inevitable part of becoming a commercial pilot. You need to do the ground school. There used to be 14 exams. There's now only 13 because they combined IFR and VFR comms. And the man who knows probably, well, maybe not more about this than anyone else, but at least as much as anyone else and more than most people, is the legendary Alex Whittingham from Bristol Ground School.
Hello, Alex. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Ian. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Jolly good. I'm doing well. I'm doing well as well. So everyone knows Alex Whittingham, boss Bristol Ground School, one of the main ATPL theory training providers. I just want to go through some sort of kind of quick questions about the ATPL theory because it can tend to be a fairly dry subject for some people. So let's just see if we can make this accessible and interesting, as it were. So question number one: what is ground school?
Ground school. Ground school is all the theoretical knowledge that you need to acquire. The theory is that you need it as sort of background knowledge for your future career as a pilot. But also there's the requirement to pass the theoretical knowledge exams to get your license. So it's kind of two things. In fact, we always have this conflict that we're trying to teach people well, so that this is stuff that is of value to them in their future career, but we've also got this parallel requirement to get them through the exams.
Okay, so talking of getting them through the exams, what are the different subjects in the ATPL ground school?
Goodness, there are 13 subjects. You don't want me to list them out, do you? I might even forget some, but there's navigation, aircraft instrumentation, aircraft general knowledge. It's about engines and electrics and hydraulic systems and things like that. There are topics that relate to human interaction. We call it human performance. So how you get on with other people. Included in that subject is physiology, the effects of altitude, the effects of oxygen deprivation, all of that sort of stuff. Operational procedures, the beginnings of how you're actually going to operate an airliner when you finally get employment. All learned at a comparatively early stage, and the chances are, unfortunately, you forget about 60% of it, but the rest of it will come back and you'll think, oh yeah, I remember learning about that when it becomes applicable in your future career.
So lots and lots of subjects.
There are 13 subjects, yes, 13 separate.
Are they kind of like, is any one of them like a big standout, meaty, chunky one, or?
Well, not really a meaty standout chunk. There are some that are comparatively straightforward. There's a subject called communications, which is just about use of the radios. And most people who've got themselves a private pilot's license would be able to pass that probably without too much effort. A few little wrinkles and crinkles in it. There are some subjects which are quite large and require a bit of background understanding, like meteorology. So, I mean, when you start off doing your private pilot's license, you learn about the basics of meteorology, about clouds and wind and stuff like that. But in the higher grades of license, in the airline transport pilot's license, the ATPL, you go into the theory of meteorology quite deeply. Because of course, when you do a commercial flight, you are responsible as the operating pilot for analysing the weather on the route and identifying any potential hazards that you might encounter along the route.
How long does it take? You know, if someone signs up and starts their ATPL theory, when are they going to hopefully have ticked that box and had all their passes?
Well, there are two paths for the theory. You can, if you wish, go to a classroom environment and sit down and learn the whole thing from beginning to end. And some schools do operate like that, and if they do operate like that, then you're basically looking at 6 months from beginning to end for the whole thing. It's a fairly intense 6 months as well. The alternative path, which most pilots take, is to follow what is called a modular route, where you do little bits of training in specialist schools. And in the modular route, you can do a distance learning exercise. I hesitate to compare it to the Open University, but it's the same sort of philosophy where you work at home and you work it around your life and your job. So you can't obviously work at the same rate. And most people who take the sort of distance learning path will take somewhere between a year, 18 months, a year and 2 years perhaps, to complete the whole exercise at a slightly slower pace.
Okay, when you come to sit the exams, first of all, do you do all the study and then go and sit 13 exams all in one go?
It's a very interesting question. It slightly depends on where you take your exams. The standards that we work to in the UK are still the European standards called the EASA standards. And if you take your exams in some EASA states, they do require you to do all of the learning first, and then you can take the exams. But you don't have to take all the exams at once. You can take 3 exams, then 4 exams, like that. But you have to do all the learning first. Most states let you do some subjects, take some exams, some more subjects, take some exams, like that. So the training is usually split into what we all call modules, whether you do it as a 6-month sit-down course or whether you do it on a distance learning course. So, and usually 3 modules. So you'll do sort of 4 exams, training for 4 subjects, take 4 exams, training for 5 subjects, take 5 exams, like that, in bits.
How many questions are there in each exam, and are they multiple choice?
Crikey. Well, the number of questions per exam changes. And again, it's a long list, and it does depend slightly on the syllabus you're taking. But a typical paper would involve somewhere in the order of 60 to 70 questions and would typically take about 90 minutes. There are longer papers, there are shorter papers, but that's a sort of typical exam. Most of the questions are multi-choice in the sense they're ABCD, and you have to tick the correct answer. Not all are like that. There are some questions that have been introduced in the last 2 or 3 years, first by the UK, but very shortly by the Europeans as well, which involve a number of different options, like you might get a drop down. So they might say, da-da-da-da-da, and then there's a drop down. You have to choose one of 2 phrases that match the sentence, and then da-da-da-da-da, and you have to choose a drop down that matches the rest of the sentence. So the questions like that. There are also what we call multi-select questions, where you're given a list of 8 or 10 statements, and you have to identify which 5 are correct. And there are also questions mostly to do with calculations, where you just type in a number.
So talking of the calculation questions, are you allowed to take a calculator in, or do you have to do it on one of those whiz wheel things?
One of those whiz wheels. Well, happily, we're allowed to take calculators in to the exams nowadays. So they've got to be non-programmable scientific calculators. You're not allowed to take the electronic navigation computers that you can buy from some of these aviation shops that work out all the wind angles and headwinds and tailwinds and stuff like that. So just a calculator and one of them whiz wheel thingies that you referred to.
You take these 60 questions, a variety, 60-ish questions, a variety of multiple choice and other types of questions. What's the pass mark?
The pass mark or the pass rate?
Pass mark.
75% is the pass mark.
Does everybody pass first time? All of the subjects?
No. It depends very much on the state of the exams. The EASA and the CAA have a habit of changing exams and introducing new subjects. And when they introduce new subjects, there's usually a little bit of chaos in the market as people get used to the new subjects. But if you're taking an exam that is relatively stable, but there haven't been significant changes for the last 2 or 3 years, then the pass rates are very high. And the expectation, certainly of our students, is that they would all pass everything.
Let's say new materials come in, or you've got a bad day for whatever reason and you fail. Presumably you can retake the exam?
Oh yeah, you can retake the exams. There's limits on how many times you can take them. Each paper you can take 4 times. And if you muff it on the 4th attempt, then you basically have to restart all the exams. And you're allowed, as I mentioned earlier, to take them in sittings. So you don't have to take them all at once. And you're allowed 6 sittings in total. And if you run out of sittings again, you have to restart the exams. But those are rare events, to be honest.
Okay, I've heard of people in the past who've said to me, "Yeah, I passed all my exams, but they ran out." What does that mean?
Well, there are a couple of timescales on these exams. The first is that from the first exam you take, you've got 18 months to complete the whole exercise. Now, given that the first exam you take for a distance learning candidate at least is going to be about 6 months into your study, 3 to 6 months, you're looking at just short of 2 years to complete the whole exercise. And again, as I said earlier, mostly people take sort of 12 to 18 months. So from the beginning, as opposed to 2 years. The second constraint is the exams themselves, once passed, have a life. So they have 3 years from the last pass for you to complete the flying elements of your license. And if you just do the ground school and then do no flying for the next 3 years, then the ground school exams die quietly and you have to redo the whole thing.
Lastly, last question for you. How much does it cost?
What, the ground school or the whole course?
The ground school.
Ground school. Typically, you're looking at somewhere between £2,500 for the course. And you have exams. The exam fees vary from state to state. But in the UK, I think you're looking at about another £1,000 of exam fees to the UK CAA.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. See you later.
See you later. Well, absolutely great information there if you're thinking of doing ground school. Alex is a top chap, and regardless of the fact that he actually sells ground school, is one of those rare people that will just give you a straight answer, whether it's to his benefit or not to his benefit. He'll just tell it as it is, as it were. And talking of telling it as it is, we've now got a message from our sponsors, from Bose and Cirrus.
I remember developing A20 and being part of that team and thinking, okay, this is a great product. Is this as good as it can be? Can I make it better? As a pilot, I always want more performance out of a headset. I want more comfort, I want better audio quality, and I want more noise canceling. And when I fly my plane, I want to be able to really just concentrate on flying the airplane. I just fly it to fly it.
for us, that's part of the goal, is to make sure that people don't have to worry about a headset. The thing that drives us to make those decisions, to make those products that much more comfortable, that much more quiet, the fact that it does have a technical standard order, they really come from the people. They really come from our team that understands the customer needs. And from that drives a desire to truly make innovations and capabilities that people haven't even thought of.
I think what makes a good engineer is looking at that problem and not realizing there's not a solution, but figuring out how can I come at it from a different direction. That challenges me to identify these parts of what can we do better.
As a pilot, I myself know what it's like to fly, and I enjoy it, and I can start to understand those types of improvements that customers are telling us about that we should really focus on.
You can't have the mindset that it's impossible to make it better. If you're already at that mindset, you might as well go home.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to ask those questions day in and day out. How far can we push that? To go beyond what people think is possible and really look for something that's new, different, and better.
I'm ahead of the game.
Remember who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker, but follow me, I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. I'm only ever slinging, I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer, the melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy, logically, I'm impossibly wanted. And they'll remember my name. They'll remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the
Now, if you've not already entered the fantastic Poolies competition, I suggest you do so very soon. You can go to the Fly Live website and find the Poolies web stand. From there, there's a banner on the right-hand side of the page. Click that and you'll go through to a form to fill in with your details, and there's a question. And to find out more about the company, I spoke to Sebastian Pooley. Well, Sebastian Pooley, thank you very much for joining us here on Fly Live. Just talk us through a bit about what's new at Poolies at the moment.
Brilliant. Thanks, Johnny. Good to see you. Poolies, as you know, has been around for over 60 years. We're in our 7th decade. We sell 2,800 different product SKUs, all up at our warehouse, based out of a warehouse in Cranford in the UK. So what's applicable? Obviously, this is Fly Live Week. We're looking to get people involved in learning to fly. So one of the things that I would pick out for people this week would be our starter kits. So we do PPL starter kits for fixed-wing pilots, helicopter pilots, gliding, microlights, etc. And I would suggest people have a look at those. Those would be a top tip. If you're starting aviation, you might want to look at getting your own headset. Since COVID, the flying schools have been reluctant to give out their own personal headsets. So there's a huge range of aviation headsets from the world's leading headset brands, including Bose and many others. So I'd definitely have a look at those. Certainly from my point of view, I use the Bose. I think that's probably one of the best headsets out there. But it comes at a price. There's an entry-level one that we do, our Poolies headset. I'd certainly have a look at that one as well. And then, gosh, what else? There are so many other things to look at. But yeah, I would start with the starter kits. The other thing I wanted to mention was our flight guide. So the Poolies flight guide is in its 59th edition, which means we're going to be releasing the 60th edition this year, which is an incredible milestone. Just I can't believe it. So we're looking forward to having that one out in November.
Excellent. Yeah, the flight guide is such an iconic piece of kit that probably all pilots have carried with them at some point in the cockpits. Let's just talk quickly about the competition that you're running this week.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got 3 fantastic prizes to give away. So we're giving away a Bose A20 headset with Bluetooth. We've got a Garmin D2 Air watch, and we're giving away a £250 gift voucher to spend at Pooley's. So we'll be I think mentioning it pretty much every day on our social media. I'm sure you guys will be doing the same, and then we'll pick out the 3 winners at the end of the week.
Yes, that sounds great. We'll be letting everybody know who the winner is on the Thursday evening. So just talk us through a little bit about the background of Pooley's without going into too much detail, but where did you come from?
Sure. So Pooley's was started in 1957. It was established by my father. He did his national service with the RAF and then spent another 3 years with them as an engineer. And then he went to work for de Havilland, where he learned to fly. And during his time at de Havilland learning to fly, he realized that a lot of people were buying their equipment in from Germany, from the US, and there was space in the market for a British brand. Now, it didn't start as Pooley's. It started as the Light Aircraft Publishing Company. It then went on in the 70s and 80s as a company called Air Tour, but really based on the fact that Pooley's was very well known, especially in the UK with a flight guide. He decided to rename it as Pooley's. So that's how we've become Pooley's Flight Equipment here, 60 odd years later.
Fantastic. And another of the iconic products that you've produced is the CRP-1 and the CRP-5, which, again, even in this world of GPS navigation, are still a core component of learning to fly. Are there any other iconic products in your lineup?
Well, we're very lucky that we have our own factory up at Cranfield in the UK. So the CRP-1, the CRP-5, and other variations that we do that you mentioned are all manufactured in the factory at Cranfield. We have a very large range of knee boards and flight boards that we do, again, all made in the factory. And we do a lot of bespoke products. So for instance, we have hot foil machines, screen printers. So we put company logos onto a lot of the products now. That's been quite a big area for us recently. And I think schools and students alike like to have that record of where they've flown and where their product comes from. And certainly I've had conversations with people when they pulled out their logbook and I've said, you learned to fly here or there. It's a conversation starter.
Wonderful. Well, Sebastian, thank you very much for joining us on Fly Live, and we look forward to hearing more from you soon.
Fantastic, Johnny. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Sebastian.
Next
Bye-bye.
up, I spoke to Teresa Demers, the Executive Vice President of Sales, Marketing and Corporate Development at Lightspeed Aviation, based in Oregon, to find out more about their company and their product lineup. So, hello, Teresa, and thank you very much for joining us here on Fly Live. To begin with, can you just tell us a bit about Lightspeed?
Sure, and thank you for having us. Super excited to be with you today and love this virtual event that you guys have put together. I hope you're getting great attendance. It's been super fun. And yes, Lightspeed actually in 2021 is celebrating our 25th anniversary in business. And so we've been making and selling active noise reduction headsets really for the aviation industry since 1996. And so Lightspeed has always competed in that space, the ANR space, active noise reduction space, and there's just one or two other competitors in that. So it's a very nice competitive environment we play in, and we really enjoy it. And we're also just a group of pilots. Many of us are. I am. Our CEO is that are just passionate about aviation, passionate about what we do, and just love serving this aviation community.
Fabulous. So can you just talk us briefly through your product lineup?
Sure, absolutely. So primarily what we manufacture is active noise reduction headsets. And we have two primary models. I have one here I can kind of quickly show you. It's a little bit hard with the screen, but this is our Zulu 3. It's our flagship product. A beautiful headset. It has almost no plastic in it. It's magnesium ear cups and stainless steel headbands. Super comfortable, great ANR. Lots of wonderful features about it. And then our second product is called the Sierra. And it is a little bit more of an entry-level price point, and it's also very comfortable. It's got great A&R as well. We do a lot of engineering for comfort in our products, and so that's really a hallmark of both of them, as well as having all the premium features. Both of our headsets have Bluetooth connectivity and auto shut off, and all of the things that are sort of taken for granted in an active noise reduction headset today. Actually, Lightspeed was the first to introduce those particularly those that I just mentioned, into headsets, and now many others have them as well. So we also, one of our newest categories in the last 2 or 3 years is that we make active noise reduction kits for helmets. So aviators that wear helmets, whether it's fixed wing or rotorcraft, we've got great products for that. And all the information for that is on our website. It gets installed through an installer network. And so people would work with the helmet installer. But that's been a really interesting new growth avenue for us too. And more fixed wing pilots, backcountry pilots and stuff like that, aerobatic pilots are wearing helmets as a little bit more of a protection. So this way you can get that legendary Lightspeed active noise reduction and the comfort and all the other features installed right into your helmet as well. That's our headset lineup. We also have a beautiful line of leather flight bags, and we introduced these about 5 years ago, really recognizing that there was just a gap in the market for something really nice, really premium that was designed for the modern pilot. So our flight bags, I like to say that they're sort of out of Africa meets the modern pilot. So they have this very wonderful classic styling, beautiful full grain leathers, but they're designed for pilots. So they have places for iPads, for transceivers, for water bottles, for other charging cables and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a small part of what we do, but it's just kind of an add-on and just part of our brand also, to provide products that are just great for aviators.
That sounds great. The flight bags I've got my eye on, actually. I think the design is really beautiful. So can you just tell people how can they find out more about Lightspeed?
Sure, I'd be happy to. There's tons of ways to find out more about Lightspeed, and we would encourage people to go to lightspeedaviation.com. There you can sign up for our email mailings. We don't do them very often, maybe a couple times a month, but we like to provide people with a lot of really rich content. And so there's everything in there from tips about survival or sharp landings. We have a great ebook right now. People can just sign up for the download of an ebook called Sharp Landings. So lightspeedaviation.com, they can learn about our products and that. The other place to learn about a lot is about on the Lightspeed Aviation YouTube channel. And there we have some great product demos where if people are interested, they can see a comparison side by side with some of the competitive products. There's also a great series on there called Aviation No Tie Downs, which is an episodic series that we generate fresh content, and it's about the people and the business and the adventure of aviation. And so there's some great profiles of individuals in our industry, or great sort of heroes and that kind of stuff. But there's also some really good profiles of some dealers in our European region. So I know you guys are based in the UK, and probably a lot of the audience is UK based, but for the rest of the people in Europe as well, there are a lot of dealer profiles there. So you get to meet the people who own the shops and what drives them and what their passions are and stuff too. So that's also on the Lightspeed Aviation YouTube channel. And then of course, please follow us on all our social channels as well.
Fantastic. So is that the best way for people to find out where they can buy a Lightspeed product?
Yes, and to buy a Lightspeed product, they'll find our dealer listing there on the website with a map. And of course, we have the best of our dealers. We're very proud of our dealer network all over Europe. So wherever you are in Europe, we have a number of them, and a number of really good ones in the UK as well.
Fabulous, thank you. And is there any final message you'd like to give to the pilots in the UK?
Well, we just really appreciate everyone's support who currently owns a Lightspeed product, and spread the word, tell your friends. We always are interested to meet people as well that are, using our products and enjoying our products. We work with individuals. We like to sponsor people and stuff too. So we just like to really be very present in the community. And again, we're just really passionate about aviation. So it's a great and fun place to be part of. And we hope everyone will just take a look at Lightspeed and give us a shot.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Teresa, thank you very much for joining us. It's been great talking to you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Thank you, Teresa. And coming up fairly soon, we've got Stevo Wankanevo, the YouTuber who flies the TBM 50. But before that, we've got another stand visit, and this is a virtual flight in a Robin from Mistral. Hello, Stephen. Thanks for joining us again. And I believe today you're going to give us a little tour around, a virtual tour of a DR401 cockpit.
Absolutely. A virtual flight even. So let's get into it. So here we are in the DR401 155 CDI. Now, Robin make a number of petrol engine models also, but the CDI is the most popular. So that's this one. The view you're getting is from the camera mounted quite high up and far forward it's mounted on the canopy handle. So you're getting a slightly oblique view of the panel, not quite the same as the pilot has. Now, the first thing you notice when you get into a robot is the visibility, which is exceptional. And you have this huge area of perspex. It extends right the way around. Even the folk in the rear seat have a really nice big window to look through, but you've also got a roof here to keep the sun off. There are no thick pillars, just a vast area of perspex. And the next thing is that the canopy extends here right down to elbow level. So you've also got a really good view out to the side and down to the front and the rear. Now let's just go through a startup procedure since we're starting at the beginning of the flight. So the startup procedure of the CDI is very, very straightforward. I'm just going to move this back slightly to get my hand out of the way. There we go. And it's just a matter of applying the brake. So you pull up a knob there whilst the toe brakes are applied. Then the power lever will be on minimum. The flaps are up. The fuel pump here is going to be switched on. Then it's just battery master on, engine master on. You wait for the glow light to go out, turn the key, and the engine starts immediately, every time, hot or cold, no fuss. Then you can do your post-startup checks while the engine warms up. Then it's just a quick FADEC check, an alternate air check. The alternate air lever is there, and you're ready to go. Now, in flight, the avionics here are all very accessible, and they're easily accessible actually right across the panel from either seat. If you're flying from the right, you've got all the information you need on the G5, which is a nice, bright, large instrument with a good angle of view, and your nav and traffic data is mirrored on the MFD here and the GTN. So you have all the information you need. The workload is very low indeed. The diesel engine only has one lever. No carburetor heat, no mixture control. That's all handled by the FADEC, as is the pitch of the propeller. So you can really just concentrate on flying the aircraft. The fuel management on the CDI aircraft is also very easy because the tanks are in line. There are no wing tanks to balance. It's a very quiet aircraft because it's got a water-cooled engine. The vibration is very low, partly because of the water cooling, but partly because of the airframe material, which is really good for absorbing vibration. And the engine has a really efficient silencer. And the three-blade scimitar propeller is also very quiet. So it's a very comfortable environment to be in, helped by nicely contoured, well-upholstered seats here, and plenty of headroom. I'm looking down slightly here, but I'm very nearly 6 foot, just a half centimetre off, and you can see I've got plenty of headroom here. But for really tall people with long torsos, we can gain another 9 centimetres of headroom. So we can incorporate people of pretty much any size. So there you have it. It's an aircraft that's super nice to fly. It's quiet, it's comfortable. You're in and out of short grass fields, and you can fly down to the Mediterranean islands in an easy day.
That's great, really impressive. And I've forgotten the great view in the Robin. Thank you very much, Steve.
Well, thank you, Ian. Thanks for having me along.
Well, thanks, Steve. That's a great look at the DR401. Now, Yaesu has a range of 4 different handheld radios. To find out what the differences are between them, I spoke to Carl Brazier, Technical Sales Manager of Yaesu UK. Hello, and welcome to Fly Alive. I'm here to meet Carl Brazier of Yaesu, who produce handheld radios. So, Carl, how are you? Welcome to Fly Alive.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Can you tell us what's new on the Yaesu range this year?
Okay, so at the moment we have 4 handheld radios. We have the FTA 250, which is a compact comms-only radio. We have the FTA 450, which is a comms-only radio as well. And if you require navigation aids, we do the FTA 550, which has VOR. And we have the FTA 750, which has GPS, VOR, ILS, and glide slope. So really a whole range of products.
I believe you've got some there and you can show us.
I certainly have. So the smallest of the one is the FTA 250. So it's a compact size, has an antenna it comes supplied with. On all of our radios, the antenna is removable. So you can plug in an external antenna if you wish. And with all of our radios, they come with a headset connection, so you can plug in a GA headset as well.
What about a power supply? Could you plug in an extra power supply?
You certainly can. So as well as the lithium-ion battery it comes with, there's also a DC power connection on the side, so you can plug in the supplied DC cable. And that's the thing with all of our products, is they come with a whole range of accessories. Okay, so the next size up is the FTA 450, has a much larger screen, it's easier to read. All of our radios, you can, as well as type in the frequency that you wish to listen to, they also have memory features as well, so that you can store commonly used, perhaps tower frequencies or so on them. And we do have programming software available as well, which allows you to do that via your computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
So moving on from then, we have the FTA 550, which, rather like its brother, the 450, has a large screen. And one thing it has, which the 450 does not have, it has VOR capability as well. So the way these work is when you can basically type in the frequency of the VOR, and then when you're within range and it detects the VOR, the display will then change over to the normal rays. Okay. And then finally, the one right at the end is the FTA 750. Again, sharing the same look and feel as the 450 and the 550, but it also has, as well as VOR, has GPS built in, and it has ILS and glide slope as well.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah. I understand also you've improved the way the pilot uses the PTT function.
Well, that's right, because in the past, all of our radios had a connection at the side that they could plug in a GA headset. Okay. So all radios were supplied with an adapter like this. So you have a plug that goes into the side of the radio, and then you have your normal microphone and speaker and PTT connections in there, and that plugs into your headset. But on the recent models, we've just introduced a new version of this headset adapter called the SCU 42. And in addition, it comes with a separate PTT connection. So it makes wiring up a separate PTT headset much easier.
Good. Okay. Which is your best seller out of all your range?
Well, by far, the FTA 250, because of its small size and low cost, this is the most popular. In the second most popular radio, of course, is the FTA 750, because it has all the extra aids that come with it.
One final question. I've always been a bit puzzled by squelch. What is the point of squelch?
Okay, well, if we didn't have squelch, then you would hear a noise. So let me just demonstrate for you on this radio. If I turn the squelch down, all you can hear is background noise. So basically, we press the button on the side, we turn the controller until the noise just stops, and then peace is resumed in the aircraft.
Okay, thanks, Carl. That was great.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming along to Fire Live, and I hope you have a good show.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Hello. So if you're anything like me, you probably spend a fair bit of time, maybe even more than you should, watching YouTube videos with made by pilots. I say more than you should. Clearly, that's fine. You can watch aviation stuff. We can all do it. So I was really pleased earlier this week to be able to interview Steve-O Wankanevo, who's one of my favorite aviation YouTubers flying his TBM 850 around Florida. Steve-O, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tens of thousands of people know you throughout the UK and Europe as the TBM guy, just flying around in your TBM and on the YouTube channel. But before we get into the YouTube channel, give us a quick potted history of your flying career.
I started flight lessons when I was 29 years old, a little older than most people would usually start a career. I started getting my flight lessons after I got out of the United States Coast Guard. And thankfully, due to the Montgomery GI Bill in the Coast Guard, they pay for 60% of flight training after your private pilot license. So I was able to utilize that to get through my lessons. And then one day I found out Fort Lauderdale International was hiring co-pilots at a regional airline down there. And I applied and I got a job flying as a co-pilot on Fairchild Metroliners. And then it all started from there.
And then so did you do the whole instructing thing, or did you just go straight to getting hired?
I actually didn't. I never instructed one day. I mean, I think that's a big part of losing out of a lot of experience, because instructing, I feel, really gain a lot of experience, like, dealing with different students. But I went right into being a co-pilot. Back then, I had 400 hours. I mean, the rules now have changed since then, but back then, I was a co-pilot at 400 hours.
And then, through one thing and another, one thing led to another, and you ended up with a job flying a TBM around.
Yeah, I did the regional airlines for a while and got a lot of experience. And I jumped over to doing charter and corporate stuff, flying King Airs and Caravans, single pilot. And then one day, my friend had this job flying this TBM, and I knew about the job, and it was an amazing job. It's Part 91, which for a private company. But his dream was to get hired on to fly jumbo jets around the world. So he asked me, he's like, Steve, do you want my job? And I said, you don't even have to ask me twice, because I knew what it was all about. And I was like, yeah, for sure. So that's how I got the job flying the TBM. Probably, I think, like 8 or 9 years ago is when I started that.
So, I mean, obviously, for those of us watching you on your YouTube channel, you kind of jump in a TBM. You kind of tend to mostly be flying on your own between nice, glamorous, sunny locations. I presume there's another part of your job that involves flying people around that doesn't really get filmed.
Oh, yeah. My boss is a really nice guy. He loves the videos. He doesn't want to be in them. But some of the coworkers that I fly around, they don't mind being in the videos. But for the most part, there's usually people on the plane, or I'm just repositioning the plane for, another flight. But there's usually people on board the plane. But with my editing, I just make it look like it's just me by myself.
Talking about your YouTube channel, you've got, I was looking today, and you've got pushing, you're not far off 500,000 subscribers, which is amazing.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I mean, I've been on YouTube since 2006. And I think like 5 years ago, or somewhere around there, I said I wanted to take it a little more seriously, put a little bit more work into my editing. I've always loved aviation, and I love photography. And back 5 years ago, I think I had like 3,000 subscribers. And just by putting a little work into editing, and it blew up. Getting the GoPro aviation audio cable was one of the biggest things that helped it, was being able to talk to the camera about what I'm doing with the airplane. That's what seemed to really help out with the channel. But I remember my main goal was just to hit 100,000 subscribers, because that's when YouTube gives you a silver play button, which is like a little reward for getting there. And it seems like it took forever to get to 100,000. And I was so excited to get to that goal. And now I cannot believe we're about to push that another 4 times over. So the next award is 1 million. So I guess the 1 million subscribers is my next goal. Like, they give you a gold play button then. So we'll see.
Have you still got the silver play button somewhere?
Yeah, it's hanging in my living room. It's one of the award that I'm very proud of, just being able to have that. It's pretty cool.
I'm lucky enough to have worked in aviation for quite a long time, and a few people have said to me, "Oh, you've got a great job." But I have to say, looking at your YouTube channel, I mean, I was looking. There was some. You've been flying around areas in a super decathlon. You've been flying the new TBM 940, formation and 4-ship extras. You're flying in
I think the T6s with the aeroshell guys. I mean, that's kind of got to be living the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've been up with Sean D. Tucker, who's an aviation airshow legend. He's brought me up a few times with him and his extra. I've been with Mike Goulian's team. Pablo brought me up. We simulated a Red Bull air race. Yeah, I mean, what all the experiences I've had thanks to YouTube, it's things that I'll never forget. I really appreciate everybody that's always giving me an opportunity for anything.
Have you got any highlights? Have you got any favorites?
Oh, it's so hard to pick a favorite. I mean, there's just so many special moments. Like coming up here at Sun and Fun in Lakeland, Florida this next week, I'm going to be flying with the MIA POW hot air balloon. And as long as the weather's good, I'm going to be doing a hot air balloon flight vlog, which I don't think anybody's done. I haven't seen it yet that I know of. So I'm really excited for that coming up next week.
Don't you have to get up really early in the morning for that?
Yeah, it's going to be a sunrise flight for sure. Hopefully the weather cooperates so I can film that video. That'd be exciting. But no, I can't really pick a favorite. There's so many cool experiences.
So when you're flying around the US, is most of your US flying around Florida and the kind of southeast of the US, or?
Yeah, southeast United States. Once in a while, we'll take a trip up north. Like coming up in July, we'll be going up to Vermont, Maine, and hanging up there for a few days. So we get to go extend the legs of the TBM once in a while to fun destinations. So it's pretty a lot of fun.
There's quite a few Brits who in without COVID travel and fly around the US a fair bit. Come on, Brent. Have you got any destinations, places you think they should go? Places you've been in the TBM that are?
I loved going to St. Martin. I went down to St. Martin and did the approach over the beach where all the people were waiting on the beach, when they watched the airplanes land right there on the runway. And it's funny because when I came in, the beach was packed. And I'm like, why? They're all packed. Why would they all be so excited to see a TBM come in? And I'm so little. But then I realized there was like a 747 right behind me on final that was coming in. And so that's why everybody was on the beach right as I was coming in. But it was a really cool moment coming over that beach, landing there as a bucket list item.
What's your favorite Florida airport then?
My favorite Florida airport? This is pretty crazy because TBM let me fly, I think it was last year, the brand new TBM 940. And I told my friend Wayman, who also works for TBM, I said, hey, if they're going to give us a brand new TBM, let's push it to its limits. So we brought it to the shortest paved airstrip in Florida, which is Cedar Key. And yeah, it's short. So it was fun to bring a brand new TBM 940 to take off and land out of the shortest paved strip in Florida. So that is probably my favorite one.
I think they've just has the runway's been resurfaced at Cedar Key, I think, recently. I saw a video of it.
Cool. That's pretty cool. That's a really unique little airport to go into. You can go into town and pick up some lunch, and it's a really interesting place.
I think the last time I went in there, only in a 172, you called on the Unicom and the one of the taxi drivers answers and asks if you want a taxi from the airport into town.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Such a cool little small town atmosphere.
So what plans have you got next for your YouTube channel? How are you going to get from 500,000 to 1 million?
I honestly don't believe it's even possible, but we'll see. I remember when I hit 100,000, I told my dad, I said, Dad, that was amazing that we got here, but I don't think, I said, remind me, I think it's going to be impossible to get to 1 million. Aviation is basically a small knit, close community. So in a lot of times, if you don't like aviation, my videos are, people don't even understand what we're talking about. There's so much that goes into what you're talking about and over the air traffic control and about all the terms and stuff with airplanes. A lot of people, for the common folk, they don't even know what I'm talking about in the video. So it's a very small knit community that would actually watch my videos. So I don't know how I'm even about to hit 500,000. So we'll see. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, go on cool adventures with friends and fly different airplanes and showcase the different technology coming out, like the new home safe system and the Garmin, where you just push one button and the airplane lands itself. I mean, the technology coming out in airplanes is amazing.
So I think the 940 that's got that home safe.
Yeah, yes, it does. The TBM that I'm flying to Sun and Fun, it's the brand new 2021 TBM 940 has got it. It's just one button on the top of the dash, and you push that, and it configures the airplane. It finds the best airport, the runway. It avoids weather. It avoids the terrain. It comes in, lands, puts the gear down, flaps down, and brings you to a stop. It even notifies the ATC with the squawk that you're an emergency aircraft. So the passenger that pushes that button, they got nothing to worry about.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely amazing. The TBM I fly for my full-time job is the 2006 model. and it's just got 2 Garmin 530s and a GMX 200 multifunctional display. It's old school stuff. And then the 940's got the G3000 avionics package. I like the older, like the setup of that 2006. It gives that airplane more character, in my opinion. I really like the setup of it. Even though it's not the newest stuff, it's still a really cool airplane, in my opinion.
So you need to persuade Wayman to take you on a ferry flight from the factory in France, so you can bring one back to the States.
Dyer's offered to bring me over there to join in on one of those flights and document the whole experience, which would be pretty cool. So I did take a tour of the factory to see where these things are made. And, the TBMs are born, and it'd be really cool to see how they're put together and bring one back.
That would be a great video, wouldn't it? That'll get you 2 million. That'll get you 2 million.
Yeah, I would hope so.
So just switching away from aviation for a second, I seem to remember looking through your YouTube channel that it used to have quite a lot of motorbike stuff. It was like
anything with 2 wheels. I grew up racing dirt bikes. I did amateur supercross, arena cross, motocross, and it's a blast. I love riding motorcycles.
So you're not doing too bad handling the electric scooters then?
No, yeah, it's fun to find different forms of transportation to put inside the airplane. I'll bring my electric skateboard, my longboard, or now I got the Segway, the electric scooters that fold up that go in the back of the airplane. So that way when you land, it's fun to go explore. I do spend a lot of time when I'm not flying with the new Microsoft Flight Sim that I have here. And it's a blast with this new Flight Sim. It's almost as real as flying around in the real life. And I actually got the new Bose QC35 gaming headset, which just came out. I traded up to that, and it's a great headset for gaming and flight simming.
In the TBM, you use the A20s, don't you?
I got the A20s. The A20s, I believe, is the best headset for anybody anywhere. I mean, I also have the Bose Pro Flights, but those are basically more marketed for like quieter airplanes. But the A20 to me is the best headset available. There's nothing better, in my opinion.
I fly with A20s, and I have to say, you'd have to take them from my cold dead ears, as it were, I think.
Exactly. I always say when you fly with Bose, it's like it's like 4K for your ears.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Steve. Enjoy Sun and Fun next week. Have a great time. If you get to do that transatlantic flight with Wayman or someone else, give me a shout. Maybe stop off in England on the way.
That'd be awesome.
We can show you what warm beer tastes like.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Thank you.
So I have to say that was fun talking to Steve. It took a little while to sort out, but we got there in the end. Who are your favourite YouTubers then?
I'm quite partial.
PT?
Yeah, Trent Palmer.
Yeah, good shout.
Trent Palmer, Mike Patey.
Yeah.
Mike's completely manic, but just the amount of work he gets done is just amazing.
He wears me out, frankly.
It's hard work watching him sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, you're being a bit quieter.
Any of these YouTubers?
Aren't you? Rory and Air's good.
Rory's good. Yeah.
Let's not forget the Brits.
Yes, no, Ben Atkinson is good too.
Yeah. And Plain Old Ben. I haven't seen anything from Plain Old Ben for a while, actually.
Yeah, he's got a new job, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But Steve-O, what a nice guy.
Yeah, no, nice guy, absolutely. Yeah, and I kind of hope he does do the transatlantic ferry in the 940, and I hope I don't suppose he will drop by in the UK on the way, but
I would just love to see a Steve-O video where he's asking for a basic service.
Yeah. Where he calls up and someone's going, "Excuse me, did you get PPR? Did you book out of Biggin using our web form? Have you got PPR? Yeah. Where's your yellow jacket?
How many yellow jackets on board?"
Well, so we are coming to the end of the 4th day. In fact, we're at the end of the 4th day, and this is the last public day. So we'd like to thank all of you who've been to all of the 4 days massively. And I'd also obviously like to thank Ed, Dave, Johnny, and the Redison production team for the great job they've done. We've got a fantastic show for you tomorrow. We've got special guest Mike Ling and a few other people, which Johnny's going to talk about in a minute. But you need to be a member of the Flyer Club if you want to come along tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to have a slightly different atmosphere, a little bit reduced. May well have a bottle of wine, you never know. And Johnny's going to tell you a little bit more about the Flyer Club. Johnny.
Yes. So for just £7.50 per quarter, you can join the Flyer Club and you get access to free landing vouchers. We've got retail discounts with the likes of Poolies and Transair. We've got all sorts of extra content that you can watch or read and maybe in the future listen to. So it's a great value offer. And if you use 1 or 2 landing vouchers a month, it's paid for itself already. So join the club. Come and join us tomorrow. We'll be chatting to Mike Ling all about his transition from fast jets to General Aviation. We'll also be speaking to Sam Worthington-Lees about getting into warbird flying. And we've got some other special things lined up as well.
Absolutely. So before we go, just need to thank the sponsors without whom this really wouldn't be possible. So please support the sponsors that are supporting us, and don't forget to visit their stands in the Flyer Live website, which is live.flyer.co.uk. So big thanks to UAvionics, Bose, Garmin, Cirrus, Leading Edge Aviation, Mistral, Poolies, Bristol Ground School, Textron Aviation, and for tonight, 4Flight. So thank you very much, and see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.